Bienvenue tout le monde. Welcome to the regular Municipal Council meeting for the City of Westmount for Monday, March 18th, 2024. Bienvenue aux séances ordinaires du Conseil municipal de la Ville de Westmount pour le lundi, le 18 mars 2024. Thank you to those who have joined us here tonight, and thank you to those who are watching online. I think we have some councillors with just a few updates. I just would like to start by saying, for those of you who attended the 150th celebration that took place, the kickoff event that took place a couple weeks ago at Victoria Hall, was an evening full of laughter and was a great way to start out our events that they're going to be running all throughout the year, many different events. So we encourage you to come and participate in them as we celebrate the 150th anniversary of Westmount. And for those who are in the room as well, you may have seen past these beautiful statues that are on display at the back, and they are celebrating the famous five, and that's up for Women's History Month, or for International Women's Day. And we had a great event here a couple weeks ago with the Famous Five Foundation, and we're going to be doing some school events, really focusing on how the long, hard fight it was to get women the vote in Canada. So I encourage you to look at some of the information from the Famous Five Foundation and to take a little time to learn about each of these statues. So that's my update. I'm going to start with Kathleen Kez on this end from District 8, who I believe has an update.
I have just a very quick one, just to pay attention to the parking signage, which changes April 1st. So pay attention, because the times are changing, so pay attention. That's all. Don't want you to get a ticket. That's it.
Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick update to say that those of us who are reviewing the applications for our Environment Advisory Committee are working our way through the huge number of people who had come forward, putting themselves forward to serve on that committee. We are delighted to see that thus far, for the ones we've reviewed, we've got a lot of talented people. This will not be an easy decision. More information will be forthcoming as we narrow down that list and are able to figure out who would be best for this committee. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And in April, you'll be seeing some updates for the activities that are surrounding Earth Hour and Earth Day, I should say. Councillor Gallery, who I think is also going to cover off some of the Public Works updates, or
Yep.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Welcome everyone this evening. This time of year, it comes to the end of our winter athletic programming, and currently we're in playoffs. So I just want to wish our adults and youths who are playing right now all the best. And I'd like to also thank the coaches, the instructors, and our many, many volunteers that make our programs happen. As such, registration for spring activities, the registration is underway, and our new activities will be starting the first and second week of April. And if you've registered, you will be informed of your start date. And as with the recent warm weather, our park cleanup has started earlier than usual, and in the commercial areas, and the bike paths have been done. We'll soon be installing benches. So I encourage everyone in Westmount, if you do see garbage, help us along the way. It's a mucky and dirty season, and everyone's input is most welcome as well. Thank you.
Thank you. If you ever see Councillor Gallery walking down the street, you will see her hands filled with garbage that she picks up everywhere. Councillor Peart, I think you have an update.
Just a quick update, Madame la Mairesse. This is pertaining to this upcoming project on Forden Avenue and Forden Crescent. We're doing a large road reconstruction project, and whenever, well, at least just recently, whenever we take on a large project like this that might involve some reconfiguration, we invite the immediate neighbors and the surrounding community to participate in a public consultation. So this is a multi-phase consultation, and the first step is, is scheduled for your choice of either Wednesday, March 27th in the evening from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. or Tuesday, April 2nd from 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. This is something we're doing, again, a little bit differently. We learned from last time that not everybody has the same availabilities during the course of a week, so we split the session up over 2 days at 2 distinct times, hopefully to elevate the attendance and then the number of people who are free to show up. What we do ask, however, is that you do register for this event. So number one, we have an idea of how many people are coming on which days. And to do so, head to our website and to our sub-website for engagewestmount.org. And you'll have all the information and the times to choose and to select for which session you'll be attending.
Thank you for that update, Councillor Shammy. Councillor Roux.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nice to see everybody again. Alors, ce vendredi à 2 heures à la salle Westmount de la bibliothèque, dans l'esprit du 125e de la bibliothèque, il va y avoir une conférence sur les origines des bibliothèques publiques. Pour ceux qui ne le savent pas, la bibliothèque de Westmount est la première bibliothèque publique au Québec. Alors, quelque chose dont on peut être fier. For those of you who've been reading about Montreal giving out special glasses for the eclipse, not that we're competitive, but it's nice to be doing maybe even better. So on Monday, April 8th is the big day. So to mark this once-in-a-lifetime astronomical event, a short talk by astronomy club members from Concordia University will be held in the Westmount room starting at 12:30, followed by a screening of 3 short NFB shorts from about eclipse. Each attendee will receive a pair of ISO certified eclipse shades. After the screening, you take your place on the library lawn to view the eclipse. So you've got option A. You have to register on Eventbrite. Then you attend the screening and you get a pair of glasses. So the glasses will be distributed at the screening. And then there's option B, which is to receive a pair of eclipse shades only. So you pick up your glasses at the children's desk as of March 25th. Obviously, quantities are limited. There's going to be a lecture in the Westmount room again on April 10th at 7 p.m. Montreal, a magnet for railways from 1836 to 1915, given by David Hanna, who is a connaisseur on that topic. Community events, we have an exhibit at the gallery going on by Tina Louise Jones and Wendy Hayden, so that's on until March 28th. Worth seeing. The call for proposals for Westmount artists, I remind, is from February 15th to April 15th online. Call for submissions for 2024 Summer Concert Series from March 4th to April 4th, online also. And then the Artisans for submissions also is from March 1st to April 5th. Finally, this Sunday, 2 o'clock, Victoria Hall, Let's Talk Opera. And I think that's about the main, but please go on the website and you'll see lots more because they work hard at the library and events to keep it exciting for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor D'Amico?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I'm going to be making the same speech I made. It'll be the second time I make the same speech. Madam Mayor, I am of the opinion that there is a clear and present danger to the sustainability and the biodiversity of the summit. A lot of the residents are very concerned about the state of the summit. I think urgent action is required. I know Council will be addressing this issue. I'm just hoping that it's done very soon. Also, there's a lot of residents complaining about, lack of respect from the users and some of the dog owners at the summit. So I want to encourage the users of the summit to be very respectful of the summit and of the neighborhood, please. So those are my comments. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor D'Amico. So I think that covers the opening updates and comments. So we will now start with the first question period. We have questions that have been submitted online, but we will take the questions in the room. Before that, donc, on a des questions en ligne. Quelques questions, je pense qu'il y a 4 en ligne. Mais on va prendre les questions dans la salle. So just state your name and your question. And in the interest of the number of people, to be as brief as possible.
Sure. Penny Arsenault, 4700 St. Catherine.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm just curious about a couple of things. I was thinking about an update on the artificial turf. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if it's kind of caught up in the budget, but I'm talking about the artificial turf at Marianopolis, or the project, or the planned project.
Yeah.
Wondering if there's any...
So we are continuing discussions with them, and if and when we move forward, obviously that will have financial implications for the city, but we would also need more detailed environmental impact assessment and studies. But we continue our discussions with them. They have applied for a grant from the provincial government. And I know they're looking at grants from the federal government as well, but we are looking at some of the finer details of that, yeah.
Okay, because I was kind of thrilled to see a heat island map on the, one of the annexes. And if you
I
look
think
in
it's
the,
item
if you want to
33.
look later on or in your phone, on the top northeastern side, you'll see Marianopolis. And it's one of the few little green patches up there. Everything else is either in the orange or the yellow. And if you look at, there's a tiny little square that's kind of going into the darkest green, which is the coolest, and that is the current little field that is in grass. And so basically, if you were to double up that, you'd be really turning a nice little green patch up there in the corner northeast into red. If you look at other heat island maps of the city and see where the artificial turfs are, they're often red in the summer.
And some of them are very outdated ones, right? So if you look at the
Right.
Outremont turf, that is filled with, tires, that has tire infill.
But PFAs and plastics still registers. There's a report from 5 days ago from the United Nations about PFAs, and and look it up. It is very impactful still, and that's still what the blades of grass are made of. So
Okay.
the infill is a totally different thing. It's just the stuff that they put in between the grass to make
Yeah,
it look like
yeah.
dirt.
It's, and the schools are often using the organic infill now.
Yeah, and
with
that's
that.
just the stuff that they put in between the blades of PFAs, basically.
Okay.
Just to be clear, that hasn't changed. So the other thing I was curious about is the greenhouses, the working greenhouses, if there's been any plans for
So
made for that. I heard that there's a Westmount school that one of the classes is thinking of doing a proposal for a garden.
an exterior garden or an interior garden?
They don't really know, and they said, if
Wow.
you're going to council, would you ask the question for us? So I said,
Tell them
sure.
to come to council and ask
Yeah,
us.
that's what I
We'd be happy to have them, and we're very open to hearing anything, any suggestion
Right.
like that from a school. As you know, those greenhouses are in terrible shape.
Yeah.
Many, if not all, are condemned, and that is for a whole long slew of reasons that I can.
I think
would
their
take up.
idea was more a proposal instead of the greenhouses to have an outdoor space. Again,
love
it's just
it.
a proposal
I love
by
it.
school
Everybody
kids,
will
but
tell you that
they asked me
that's
if I
what I
would
want.
ask if there's anything planned. Can I just add one very quick question? I'm sorry.
So I'll
No,
just
sorry.
follow up on the greenhouses. That is a significant project. So it is something that we are looking at for next year's PTI programming, is to how to make that more accessible to the public. We do know, one thing we do know is we have a massive waiting list for community gardens.
Yeah.
You essentially, you
I've
if
been
you're
on
on
the list
that
for 6
list,
years.
you won't, like, it will take forever for you to get a community garden. And that, the greenhouses there are very much surrounded by apartment buildings and people who may not have access to a garden. I personally feel that that would be a great use of that space, is to really open it up to the public, as opposed to, those gardens were intended when we grew our own flowers, which is not necessarily what we do anymore, for all of our public beds and things like that. So I think a great use of that space would be to open it up to the public, but also we have 13 schools. Is there a way to incorporate them into that programming as well? So.
I'll give them that little tip. The
So
other-
it is a project that it's one I would have loved to have seen done this year, but I think
There's a lot of other stuff.
there's very
The other
long
question I
list.
had was about the Douglas Ellis Memorial Garden.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that there were a whole slew of trees, not trees, but the shrubs on the corner of St. Catherine and Lansdowne have all been taken down. I don't know if that was affiliated to that, and also a number of trees taken down in the retention basin.
Did we take trees down in the retention basin or some shrubs? I don't know the answer to that, but I can get back to that. And the memorial garden will not be removing. There were no trees
That's what I
being removed
thought.
in that
It
garden.
might be a disease, it might be something I don't know, but not that I take a daily inventory of the trees across the street from me, but.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonsoir, Madame la mairesse. Moi, c'est Mariam Kamoli-Nejad. Je suis résidente au 700 Summit Circle.
Bienvenue.
Bienvenue, merci beaucoup. J'avais la chance de vous rencontrer
Oui.
précédemment dans le parc. Et ce soir, en fait, je suis là avec mes voisins. En fait, quelques voisins. Et d'abord, je veux vous remercier, M. D'Amico, pour amener nos problèmes et nos issues au Conseil. Mais on juge que ce n'est pas suffisant parce que quand même, il y a des voisins qui sont là depuis 40 ans, 45 ans et qui vivent avec le problème depuis toutes ces années-là. Et que les problèmes, ni seulement ça ne règle pas, ça aggrave progressivement. Et depuis Covid et après Covid, la situation est beaucoup plus dramatique que vous pensez, je crois. Donc, ce soir, je suis là pour vous présenter une mise en demeure concernant la violation de la loi 128, la loi provinciale 128, portant sur les normes relatives à l'encadrement et à la possession des chiens par le règlement numéro 1522 de la ville de Westmount. Nous, les résidents des rues Summit Circle, Avenue Oakland, Gordon Crescent, Summit Crescent, Avenue Upper Bellevue, adressons à la ville de Westmount la présente mise en demeure concernant la violation de la loi provinciale numéro 128 portant sur les normes relatives à l'encadrement et à la possession des chiens, notamment les articles 16 à 21, inclusivement à la section 4, chapitre P38, 002 R1 par le règlement numéro 1522 de la ville de Westmount, en ce qui concerne le bois Summit Circle. De plus, après plusieurs réunions et communications individuelles sur le sujet avec les différents responsables de la ville, nous mettons de la ville de Westmount en demeure concernant le non-respect de plusieurs articles de ce même règlement 1522 de la ville de Westmount. Attendons que le non-respect de l'article 20 de la loi provinciale numéro 128 portant sur la liberté des chiens dans les lieux publics tels que le bois Summit met en péril la sécurité publique. J'emphase là-dessus la sécurité publique des usagers du parc ainsi que la santé et la sécurité et le bien-être des résidents de zones à voisinage. Attendu que les articles 12 et 13 du règlement 1522 de la ville de Westmount semble être en violation directe à l'article 20 de la loi provinciale 128 concernant laisser les chiens courir en liberté, attendu que la ville de Westmount ne parvient pas à assurer le respect de ces articles 6, 9, 10, 11 et 13 de règlement numéro 1522 relatif au bois Summit, attendu que la fréquentation élevée...
Est-ce que vous avez une question ou parce que je n'ai pas le document devant moi? Donc.
Oui, en fait, je voulais j'ai imprimé une version pour vous.
Et peut-être vous pouvez laisser le document avec notre greffier.
Ce soir, je vais vous envoyer à tout le monde une copie numérique de cette mise en demeure en version anglaise et en version française, ainsi que les parties de la loi 128 qui concernent notre mise en demeure. Donc, si vous n'avez pas la patience que je le lis jusqu'à la fin, je vais juste... Je ne sais pas, est-ce que vous me permettez que je finisse ou...
C'est 3 pages? Vous avez
Non,
déjà
c'est 2 pages. Je vais être rapide.
Mais je pense que si tout le monde a une copie, on va lire. Si vous avez déjà... Est-ce que vous avez envoyé par courriel aussi?
Non, je vais envoyer ce soir.
OK, merci. Donc, ce n'est pas nécessaire de lire tout le document.
OK, donc si juste vous permettez, je vais juste lire notre demande. Donc, je vais sauter le parti.
Est-ce que c'est une question ou une demande?
C'est plusieurs demandes.
OK, donc c'est une période de questions. Donc, si vous avez une question. Sinon, je vais lire le document avec avec le DG puis le greffier, puis on va vous donner un commentaire. J'imagine que le email est là, puis on va vous envoyer une réponse.
OK, parfait, pas de problème. Je respecte votre décision.
Mais si vous avez une question, on est...
oui, si vous permettez, en sachant que le problème, ça persiste depuis des années et que vous étiez déjà au courant de notre mise en demeure qui va venir ce soir, j'aimerais connaître votre opinion sur le problème.
J'étais au courant, mais j'étais au courant que vous peut-être avez quelque chose, mais c'était pas... Vous m'avez pas envoyé une mise en demeure avant ce soir.
Non, je viens de
juste pour être clair. Oui.
C'est clair, oui, absolument. Mais est-ce qu'il y a un politique qui s'en vient plus tôt? Parce que l'année passée, j'ai parlé à plusieurs reprises avec notre représentant de la zone, M. D'Amico, et il m'a dit que, en fait, vous êtes en train de voir qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire pour régler le problème et que ça s'en vient dans 1 mois, 2 mois, 3 mois. Et à partir de cette date, ça passe presque 1 an et 4 mois. Et
oui, puis on avait... comme un changement avec le greffier. Puis, mais oui, mais je pense qu'il y a quelques problèmes. Il y a le stationnement, que vous avez parlé des autos, les stationnements. Ça, c'est un problème que je pense qu'on peut être plus efficace. On peut régler ça un peu mieux, je pense. Il y a un peu de travail qu'on peut faire là-bas. Il y a les chiens, qui est un autre, c'est pas la même chose que le stationnement.
En fait, le conseil
Puis il y a aussi l'investissement dans le bois sommet qui
Absolument.
vient, on est en train de faire un plan pour le bois. Donc c'est pas toute la même chose et c'est pas tout dans le même projet de loi.
Absolument. Il y
C'est
a
un peu
plus-
partout dans la ville.
Comme vous dites, il y a plusieurs problèmes, mais l'objet principal de notre mise en demeure, c'est la loi 128. La loi provinciale, actuellement, il est violé par la réglementation de législative de Westmount, et on aimerait que la première chose que on souhaite soit réglée, c'est concordance de réglementation de la ville de Westmount avec la loi.
Absolument, puis on va être en concordance avec la province.
Parfait, merci infiniment. Donc, et par après, c'est vraiment les questions environnementales, les questions de stationnement, la sécurité de toutes les gens qui habitent dans la zone depuis longtemps. Donc, voilà.
Oui, et le bois sommet, je le sais que vous habitez juste là, juste en face, donc vous êtes là tout le temps. Et
En fait, nous sommes autour. Les gens qui
Oui,
sont
non,
là
non, non,
ce
je
soir,
comprends.
nous sommes autour du parc. Donc, on le vit quotidiennement, 24 heures sur 24, et vraiment voir que nos arbres matures, le patrimoine de Mont-Royal. C'est marqué sur votre site Internet que le bois sommet, ça fait partie de la zone protégée de patrimonial de Mont-Royal. Les arbres matures de cette bois, ils sont opposés ou exposés, arrosés par les urines de chiens 24 heures sur 24. Et ça, c'est déplorable. Donc, je vous parle
il y a
faire
beaucoup
des
de-
speeches.
il y a beaucoup de temps
vérité-
dans l'année qui s'approche maintenant, le 15 avril,
C'est pas
il n'y a
suffisant.
pas des chiens sans laisse pour quelques mois, puis pendant les jours, pendant tout l'été, jusqu'à l'hiver. Donc, on essaie de trouver la balance avec tout le monde. Et
Il n'y a plus de balance. Les bois n'est pas protégé par culture et on aimerait et on souhaite vraiment profondément que c'est un lieu public sans culture soit en considération.
OK.
Et une fois que les chiens sont en leash, ça règle énormément de problèmes. Donc voilà, je vous remercie infiniment pour votre patience.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
You have to ask a question at the microphone and state your name.
I live at 19 Oakland. When will you be getting back to us?
Well, there's, and your name, sorry.
Brian Shamandi.
Hi, Mr. Shamandi. There's a couple different steps that are going to be taken, and we will obviously read the mise en demeure that you have left with us, but we need to update our dog bylaw. We also need to look at our tariffs bylaw, and which we are looking at, and as well as parking. And
So,
the
timeframe, month, 2
we will
months,
have
few
an
weeks?
update at the beginning of April. We have an April 8th council meeting. But, you know, we hear your issues, and we are working to try and find a solution and a balance for everybody and for all the users of Summit Woods. You have to ask your questions at the microphone with your name. You don't have to state your address, though.
Okay, with all due respect, I've been living in Westmount for 40 years. The deterioration
Name.
of Patricia Laluse, Dr. Patricia Laluse. I've been living for 40 years in Westmount. And you've come to visit me on one occasion. I've seen you, Mayor. And I've seen the deterioration of the area. One good thing is you've blocked off that area from Summit Circle to Oakland, which is great, because it used to be a snow dump, and I used to have the snow trucks aligned on my street.
Truck, yeah.
But the forest, the woods in front of my house has deteriorated. Not only, I don't see any, I mean, I've seen, after the ice storm that you came and you addressed the problems of the broken trees, and that's fine. But the trails have widened to a point that is ridiculous. Not just the big trails. Now there are multiple trails, okay? And I don't feel comfortable personally. And you've addressed this problem before. but you've never solved it. It's not as if we're telling you something new. You've known about this problem for a long time. So my concern is, are you going to let it drag out many years like you've done before? I would like to see a resolution to the problem of dogs in the woods and of the parking on our streets.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
The place is full of doctors. I'm Dr. Yermis. I live on Oakland Avenue. She's 40 years, I'm 47 years in Westmount. Does anybody know the history of how the bird sanctuary
Yep.
became a dog run?
Yes, I mean,
Could you tell me?
over the years, it has been, there have been dogs off leash there for decades and decades now. Like into
Yes,
the,
there was a law that said dogs could be off leash. Is there
off-leash.
something in the bylaws that says that?
you can have dogs off leash at Summit Woods and in the dog runs and in designated dog areas, yes.
At Summit Woods and the dog run, or in the dog run?
In Summit Woods, you can have dogs off leash, yes.
But the definition of a dog run is an fenced area.
Not in
allows-
Quebec, no. It's a designated dog exercise area. We have looked into this. Sorry, you know the rules better than anyone because you're a city councillor in TMR. So you know that you have to ask your question at the
If
microphone.
enough of the citizens ask you to change the rules, will you change the rules? If we say we don't want a dog run there, that we want dogs on leash, okay, will the council look at that and
Well, the
consider
council
it?
would obviously look at that and take into consideration so that, yes, I know you live by the park, you're not going to want to hear this, but the park belongs to all Westmounters, right? All
Right.
citizens.
And it was given to Westmount as a bird sanctuary,
Yep.
not as a dog run. Okay. So you've gotten rid of all the ground birds. There are no more ground birds in that park.
I think the birders would disagree with that, but
Well, I see birders all the time because I live there.
yeah.
And they're looking up, they're not looking
So-
down.
Okay, so
I
I think I've answered your question.
What was the question?
Well, you asked, do I know the history of the park?
Okay,
I
so
do
now
know
I
the
know
history
the
of the
history of
park,
the park.
and you have said that you have. I think I clearly know from your. I assume you're a signatory to the mise
Not a
en demeure of what
signatory.
you're
No,
asking.
I'm not.
Okay.
Okay. So I would like to know what protection I have when I walk there and the dogs run down from the mountain and jump on me.
So one of the things that we were also discussing is a much more severe enforcement, so a much higher increase in fines. And right
going to
now,
enforce
and
that?
right, I'm just going to answer, okay? A higher increase in fines that will be, that you would certainly make an impact with fines. And right now, at times, sometimes we give warnings. There will be no more warnings. We will move forward with just fines. So, there's other questions in the room, and we have a whole bunch of questions online. So you
I
have
just
one
started.
question and a follow-up. So that's how the question period
Okay, I'll
works.
give you my follow-up.
Well, I think you've had a couple
How
follow-ups, but
how did you figure out how much to charge non-Westmount residents for dog licenses in Westmount? On what financial basis did you do this? On what it costs us for security? Because they
That's
get
long-
calls all the time?
yeah, so the dog license fee for non-Westmount residents has long been in place, long before me.
Doesn't make it right.
I didn't establish the non-Westmount
You can
dog
change it.
license, but we can certainly increase the cost of it. And
I'm
that's
not
dealt
interested in
with,
the cost.
that's dealt with in the tariff bylaw.
But why are we encouraging other municipalities to get rid of their dog runs when we'll take their people in?
Okay, so I see the point that you're trying to make, and we will discuss it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
No, because I think there's other questions in the room, so you have to wait till those are asked, and then we have to go through all the questions online.
Hi, my name is Benjamin
And we only have
Sellinger.
45 minutes for the first question period. And then you can wait, and there's a second question period, which many municipalities don't do, but you will be waiting quite a long time because we have 50 items on the agenda tonight. So Question.
My name is Benjamin Salinger, and my question this evening is there a reason for the antagonistic approach that you're taking with the citizens?
I don't think I'm being antagonistic. I'm sorry if you feel that way.
I find your responses very dismissive when we've all taken the time out of our day to be here today to raise an issue that is of grave concern to us. And
Okay,
I think that it would benefit all the citizens of Westmount if you would take a moment to listen to us.
Okay, I'm sorry if you took offense to my tone. I did not mean to. Sorry, Dr. Uramis, if you took offense. Do you have a question? No? Okay. Okay, so listen, I understand how important this issue is to you that live there. I also hear, so you should understand that I hear from the many supporters of the Summit Woods and the Dog Owners Association and them as well. So I hear a lot from them. They don't live there, we do. No, but they are Westmount citizens, so it's. They don't live where we live. So, question, but I think you just jumped in front of Mr. Dufour, who's behind you. Oh, you were there? Okay. I hope that wasn't being too mean to point that out, but okay.
Just 2 points that, quand on parle de nos résidents de Westmount, je voudrais juste vous informer que le parc Mali, qui est situé entre Outremont et Ville-Mont-Royal, il va fermer ses portes l'année prochaine pour faire la place aux constructions. Il y a 3000 usagers, maîtres chiens, qui utilisent le parc Mali pour leurs chiens. Le jour que le parc ça serait fermé, est-ce qu'ils vont payer, ma question, est-ce que vous êtes d'accord qu'ils payent $50 pour utiliser Summit Bois, pour que leurs chiens fassent leurs besoins dans le parc Summit Bois, qu'ils ne le ramassent pas et qu'on perde notre parc et toute notre tranquillité, l'environnement et tout au prix de $50. Stationnement free toute la journée, plus la place et tout qui vient avec. Est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec ça?
On va garder la question des chiens hors de la ville de Westmount.
Parfait,
Donc,
merci. Et deuxième point là-dessous, c'est qu'au Québec, province de Québec, depuis 3 mars 2022, promener les chiens, n'importe quelle taille, n'importe quelle race, sans laisse, dans un espace public non clôturé est interdit. Donc ça, c'est pour vos informations. La loi 128 a été votée le 3 mars 2020 et donc la raison de présence de notre maison.
Peut-être Mme la greffier peut donner précisément sur ça, parce que c'est un dog exercise area, pas une clôture.
En fait, vous faites référence au règlement provincial, donc à l'article 20, n'est-ce pas?
Absolument.
Okay. Je vais le lire pour le bénéfice de tous.
Oui.
Donc, dans un endroit public, un chien doit en tout temps être sous le contrôle d'une personne capable de le maîtriser. Et là, c'est l'alinéa 2 qui s'applique ici, sauf dans une aire d'exercice canin ou lors de sa participation à une activité canine, notamment la chasse, une exposition, une compétition ou un cours de dressage, un chien doit également être tenu au moyen d'une laisse d'une longueur maximale de 1,85 m. Un chien de 20 kg et plus doit en outre porter en tout temps attaché à sa laisse un licou ou un harnais. Donc, à l'alinéa 2, vous faites référence au parc canin. Par contre, malheureusement, nulle part dans ce règlement municipal, on ne définit le parc canin comme étant une aire clôturée.
Absolument. Mais comme vous, les législateurs, vous savez très, très bien que le parc canin, dans les Larousse français, et aussi la définition sur n'importe quel site web que vous cherchez, la définition de parc canin, c'est un endroit fermé, clôturé. Donc, si vous trouvez une autre définition pour un parc canin ouverte sans clôture, je serais prenante de l'apprendre. Mais un parc à chiens canin, c'est un espace clôturé. Et en plus, la définition, dans la loi, il parle de contrôle de chiens. Les gens qui viennent au Summit Bois, ils ne sont pas dans la maîtrise de leurs chiens. Il y a 2 semaines, j'ai amené une vidéo à monsieur le directeur de sécurité publique, monsieur McBain. Il possède maintenant le vidéo. il y avait un chien comme un mouton. Je faisais mon jogging, il m'a attaqué, il m'a sauté dessous à l'extérieur du parc, devant la maison 1000 Summit Circle. Il m'a suivi jusqu'à 111 Summit Circle. Il est entré un mouton. Il est entré dans le cours de la maison 111 Summit Circle. J'ai pu filmer toutes les séquences. Comme je vous ai dit, la vidéo est dans les mains de M. McBean. Vous allez voir que la majorité des gens qui viennent au Summit, qui ont des gros chiens, ils ne sont pas en maîtrise de leurs animaux. Et en plus, après Covid, le problème a beaucoup aggravé parce que la majorité sont des chiens après Covid qui ne sont pas dressés, qui ne sont pas éduqués, qui n'écoutent absolument pas leur maître. Et,
OK. Merci. Merci pour vos commentaires.
Merci.
Madame la mairesse.
OK. Monsieur D'Amico?
Donc, la question ici, c'est quoi un parc canin? Est-ce qu'il doit être clôturé? C'est une question légale.
Absolument.
La Ville, je suis d'accord avec vous, donc je vous appuie à 100%. C'est vraiment la question juridique qui se pose.
Absolument.
Il y a plusieurs façons de trouver la réponse à cette question, mais on s'acharne pour vraiment trouver la réponse à cette question.
C'est sûr que Summit Bois n'est pas que...
Le problème, madame, c'est encore pire. C'est que si Summit continue de se dégrader de cette façon, il n'y aura plus de Summit.
Absolument.
Donc, ça deviendra un stationnement. Donc,
condo, ça devient des condos.
Oui, ça devrait, donc quelqu'un développeur. Est-ce que c'est ça qu'on veut? Est-ce que c'est le Westmount qu'on veut avoir? Donc, c'est la question qui se pose.
Absolument.
Je vous comprends à 100%, madame.
Merci. Vraiment, merci infiniment.
Avec plaisir.
C'est vraiment la question que chacun d'entre vous doit répondre. Nous avons vécu à Montréal la même histoire aux îles des Sœurs. Île des Sœurs, il y avait un grand boisier. Au fur et à mesure dans le temps, ils n'ont pas pris la maintenance du parc et c'est perdu et actuellement c'est des condos. Donc, merci pour votre
Merci. Monsieur Dufour.
Good evening. It's Richard Dufour from Anwath.
Welcome.
Thank you. I wanted to address two of the proposed bylaws that are up for discussion later on this evening. Number one, thank you, City, for finally addressing issues that are of environmental concern. I just wanted a little comment before my question is that I noticed that the ordre du jour of the council minutes is only posted the day of, which doesn't give much chance for people to kind of read and digest and think before coming and asking questions. So a suggestion for future to kind of give people notice to look at these things beforehand.
So it's it's often not ready until the Friday, maybe the Thursday before the council meeting on the Monday. So it's as you know, I guess there's a long lead up for this and for an agenda like tonight where we have almost 50 motions to pass. But I hear what you're saying and that you would like, if possible, could we give more time so if it's ready? So I can't guarantee it, but we can certainly, we have a new city clerk, so we can certainly discuss if there's a way to get it, but.
I understand. Fortunately, I had the time to read it, but I'm not sure everybody has the same time as I did. So I wanted to talk about, I wanted to ask
Thank you for the suggestion.
two questions. One was regarding the garbage management, waste, recycling, etc., which is quite long and thorough. And I was surprised because I had participated in the visit that was organized of the recycling center or the Centre de Triage in Lachine, which was very interesting.
Yep.
And one of the disheartening things that I learned there, and I think that there were other councillors present at that meeting, was that plastic bags were not recycled. And in fact, using plastic bags to put your recycling in was a hindrance in the whole process. And that they were trying to discourage that and have people use bins. And even the open bins, they say, which is what the city of Westmount has supplied, is problematic because when it gets wet, it's also a problem for them to sort wet material. So in the bylaw, I noticed that some of the recyclables that are listed are plastic film wrap, bags, grocery bags, dry cleaning bags, bread bags, and food bags, milk bags. Those, from what we've been told, are not recyclable, unfortunately. Perhaps in the future they will be. And secondly, addressing the issue, it says recycling containers used by household residents means, this is part of your bylaw, one or more rigid blue plastic recycling bins supplied by the city And I think the ones supplied by the cities are the open
The
square-
boxes, yeah.
square ones. Or number two, a clear or a translucent blue bag no longer than 66 centimeters wide, etc. I had proposed in the past that the city, to kind of help circumvent those two issues, one, having open recycling bins, and people, I used to be doing the same thing before I knew, putting my recycling in plastic bags, which is a problem for them, is that the city provide closed containers. And I think that would be something that would be, I'd like to ask if the city would consider that, and also perhaps modifying the bylaw to take into consideration those two things. That's my first question.
So, thank you for that. That is something that we have discussed is a standard bin. I mean, we have one for compost, but we don't have one standard bin for recycling and garbage, which others, in some of the suburban cities, you'll see that, but there's a little bit more space. Our challenge is bin size and where they would be stored in some of the tighter locations. But it is something that we are looking at. It's a significant cost for the city to take on, but it is. It also means it can go onto the wheel. Like if it's wheeled, it can go onto the machine, and it doesn't mean it's basically more automated than someone picking up all of the bags. So it's something that we're looking at, but it is not in this current contract. But it would be, I think it is, I think we should go out to the public to see it. Like, would people use these standardized bins? Because it's either you're in or you're out. So like, you know, we have a place outside of the city, and they will not pick up your garbage if it's not in one of the three bins. It's picked up, the garbage is picked up once a month. And it's, in Saint-Sever, the garbage is picked up once a month. But if it's not in those bins, they will not pick it up. So you can't just put a bag out. So we are looking at it, but it is not in this contract.
Okay. I'm not suggesting that it be mandatory, but having the option of citizens to go and pick one up.
Absolutely, you can go pick one up. You can use it, and our truck will put it on the wheel bin.
A closed blue bin?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
100%.
Oh, that's good to know.
Which is
Thank
good to know that you didn't know that, because you know a lot about
had no
recycling.
idea.
So that is something that we should maybe communicate more.
Thank you.
The what?
And-
Euro format, not American handles.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Okay.
So I don't know. Do you want to comment on that? No?
Actually, Madam Mayor, you covered it completely, so. I
Okay,
yield.
my second question, and that was regarding the bylaw with heat islands.
Yep.
I'm glad to see that, again, the city is making a move towards doing something, but what I've read lacks any kind of enforcement or bite or really meaning. And the two that I wanted to address particularly was to help, in your bylaw, you said to help counteract the heat island effect, was to create a regulation to encourage green roofs or white roofs for building with flat roofs. Westmount is one of the few cities or arrondissements in the island of Montreal that doesn't insist on white roofs for flat roof membranes. And I'm surprised of that. And rather than just outright saying we are going to enforce it, I'm surprised that you are saying we're going to just encourage it. And the second element of that was consider the possibility of modifying the minimum parking standards, particularly in areas well served by public transport. Again, this really has no meaning to me. It's like just a thought. So my question is, when will the city of Westmount be a bit more proactive and be a bit more forceful in doing something concrete?
Okay, thank you for your question. And this is notice of motion, so this can be amended. So thank you for your commentary and your feedback. And we will discuss it certainly with the Urban Planning Department on the roofs. And the parking issue is, as you know, that's a hot topic. But
it's a hot topic, but
it's a hot topic where many communities are moving forward on
faut
this.
mettre nos culottes, as we say in French.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question, and then I think we need to move to questions online, because
thank you. My name is Najib Khalid. I'm just, because the address matters, I'm on 1 Summit Circle, and I have only two simple questions. What do I do when I'm woken up at 5:30 in the morning by 3 dogs yelping outside my door? And what do I do when before going to sleep, at 7 o'clock, they're doing the same? This has happened 3 times in the last 10 days.
At 5:30 in the morning on the street?
Yes.
So I would call public security.
How many times would I do that? Every week?
So they're on the sidewalk. They're
Yes.
walking dogs on the sidewalk.
Yes. Coming out of the woods. And what do I do when they can't control their dogs and I have to clean the excrement on my lawn? Is that what the council is telling me, what I've heard today?
No. I think what you're hearing today is that there's going to be a significant increase in enforcement and fines.
That will not do much. Not do much. I'm disappointed.
Okay.
And the attitude shown to me. As this meeting has gone on, our concerns are not being heard. They're being dismissed.
I think everybody here is hearing your concerns.
Not what people here felt.
I think we're hearing your concerns, and we welcome your participation and your questions.
And let's see what action
Okay.
is taken.
Thank you.
Otherwise, I'll be calling 5 o'clock every morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have to, sorry, there is a system to this because it's a public meeting, so you have to ask your questions at the mic, but we have several more questions online that we have to address. We'll move to questions online.
Okay, so the first question was from Linda Tremblay. Bonjour, j'ai été très désappointée de lire le dernier budget de la Ville de Westmount. Je suis favorable à l'augmentation des dépenses dans les infrastructures, mais je pense que c'est une très mauvaise idée de mettre ces dépenses sur notre carte de crédit. Les gens de Westmount sont fiers de vivre dans une ville bien gérée, qui n'a presque pas de dette. Pourquoi ne pas augmenter nos taxes de 2 % de plus et payer cash les nouvelles dépenses en infrastructure? Si nous refusons de le faire, ce seront nos enfants qui devront augmenter leurs taxes pour rembourser ces dépenses d'infrastructure. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Madame, je pense que c'est Madame Tremblay, pour la question qu'on a reçue en ligne. Puis, je le sais que je pense que M. D'Amico a une réponse à cette question, mais juste avant, comme vous savez, il y a beaucoup de travail à faire à Westmount. C'est pas dur de trouver des rues, des parcs, un peu tous nos bâtiments municipaux. On a trop de choses à faire. Puis c'est des projets pour des générations. Et c'est important qu'on fait. Puis il y a des projets qui vont durer 50 ans, 100 ans, mais c'est pas juste à nous autres de le payer maintenant, mais je pense que M. D'Amico a plus de détails comme le commissaire des finances.
Donc, Mme Tremblay, je vous remercie pour votre question. Ça n'a pas été une décision facile à faire. Je comprends vraiment ce que vous me dites. Je suis d'accord avec vous. Comme élu, nous souhaitons tous maintenir un faible niveau d'endettement et idéalement avoir une ville sans dette. Nous fêtons cette année le 150e anniversaire de la Ville. C'est vous dire à quel point certaines de nos infrastructures sont âgées. L'effet fiscal de 2 % par exemple représente 2,1 millions qui vous viendrait d'une augmentation des taxes. C'est un bon coup de pouce, certes, mais insuffisant pour répondre aux investissements bruts. L'augmentation des taxes seule ne permet pas de faire face aux investissements requis. Les défis avec les infrastructures sont nombreux. Outre la mise aux normes, il faut investir dans des projets porteurs pour nos résidents comme les parcs, les institutions sportives, les égouts et l'aqueduc, pour n'en nommer que quelques-uns. L'utilisation de la dette permet de repartir le fardeau fiscal de nombreuses années et d'éviter le taux de taxe en dents de scie. Je suis confiant pour nos enfants, ils pourront continuer de vivre dans une ville sécuritaire, solide et avec une qualité de vie incomparable. L'autre point que je voulais ajouter à ça, c'est que on s'est vraiment engagé comme conseil de essayer de regarder l'augmentation du taux de taxe au taux d'inflation. Mais notre réalité, ce n'est pas vraiment ça. Nos coûts sont beaucoup plus élevés que l'inflation. Donc, les coûts de construction, par exemple, il n'y a pas de lien avec l'inflation le contribuable. Donc, ce sont des questions qui ont été difficiles, mais je pense qu'on a pris la bonne décision. Je vous remercie pour votre question, Madame Tremblay. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur D'Amico et Madame Tremblay. La prochaine question.
Donc, la prochaine question de Monsieur Peter Cohen. For years, we've been discussing how to slow and diminish traffic on Victoria and Grosvenor to no avail. Even the new speed bumps on Grosvenor haven't changed anything. Don't you think it's time to take the bull by the horns and just close those streets at the city limits near Sunnyside, like that's already the case on De La Vigne Road? Through traffic can use the Carrie and the Queen Mary. We people living on Grosvenor are sick and tired.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan, I believe was your name. And I know that many of the issues surrounding traffic are being discussed because of the reconstruction of Grosvenor and looking at a pedestrian light at the corner of Grosvenor and Grosvenor and the Boulevard. They have added the speed bumps. If you're feeling that they are not doing enough, we've also restricted a lot of turning in that area, largely because of the school traffic in the morning. So you can't turn up Roslyn. You can't turn, as I'm sure you know, there's lots of areas where you can't turn. And that's when we design that street. A lot of that is to encourage, so when you narrow the street, which we widen the sidewalks and then put bump outs at the corner, is to slow traffic. But I think your question is twofold. It's traffic and it's volume and it's speed. And so we've worked on some speed mitigation issues. Volume is a more difficult one in terms of cutting off traffic entirely at Grosvenor and Victoria at the top end of the city would be difficult for people coming and going. The boulevard is obviously a huge generator of traffic in that people use it as a through point through the city, even though we'd prefer them to be on the Décarie and taking their Turcotte. But I know that the traffic committee, and this was your commentary was sent to the person who manages the traffic committee to look at any other possibilities. I don't know if anyone from the traffic committee, Kathleen Kez, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, this was discussed in the traffic committee, and we have a meeting on the 26th, I believe. So I'm sure this will be brought back up. But the question always was, how do you stop volume? I mean, it's north-south corridors. We don't have many, and they're stumbled on how to not allow traffic volume. How do you close off volume for a city that needs to circulate? There's not many north-south corridors.
Yeah, and certainly Grosvenor is a huge one because it does run the entire length of the city. So thank you for your question, and they will bring some of that comment. We'll share that as well with the traffic committee. The next question.
Diana Hernandez, it's in a time where the mantra "are you with us or against us" resonates, we implore each council member to consider a direct question with a clear answer. Do you prioritize the human rights of the residents in the old train station complex? To repurpose the old train station situated in a confined and densely populated area for public use undermines the human rights of local residents to a safe and harmonious environment. The endeavor is driven by individuals seeking 15 minutes of fame, disregarding the detrimental impact on the local residents. If Westmount residents had a say, this project would be last on the list. Those adamant about its merit could easily relocate the old train station to their own backyard to pursue their dream.
Thank you for the question, the commentary. I'm not quite sure how to respond to that, or if she's expecting a response from all of council. The train station obviously is, I think Ms. Hernandez, who lives right near the train station, knows the history of this, that the city acquired it for $1, so be wary of buildings that cost $1. And that's over the years it requires a significant investment for it to be able to be used as anything. It's bricks and some water and an old pool table, I believe, and some old office furniture that's currently in there. So it will require a significant investment, but it would need a purpose for that investment to be made on behalf of taxpayers. There's huge amount of restrictions that you can put in there because it's right next to a train, because it's so close to the tracks. There's now restrictions on what types of use can be near a track, and it's currently zoned public park or square, un centre d'exposition, centre d'interprétation de patrimoine, so an exhibition center, heritage interpretation center. I don't have my glasses on. So it's a museum type, that's the current zoning. So any change to that would require a zoning change. So it's definitely, it's a challenging site. There was, long before anyone here on council, there was approval to build housing around it that kind of blocked it in and locked it in. It has some green space around it, but if, some people have said in the past to put a daycare or something like that in, you can't. There's, the uses near a train track are quite limited, and it is going to require a significant investment. So thank you for, I know it's a concern to you, and it's a concern to the city, but this is definitely a project which will fall under our new group of significant, the bigger projects that Mr. Flees is running. Merci. Next question.
Frederick Gervin. Mayor Smith, at last month's council meeting, Pro-Mayor Elizabeth Roux suggested resubmitting my question as Mayor Smith had the knowledge to answer these issues properly. Question number 1, CTV reported 15 demerged municipalities represent 12% of the population of the Montreal agglomeration, yet pay 38% of the cost for shared services. How much have Westmount residents have overcharged? You can round it to the nearest million. And question number 2, obtaining money or some other thing of value by the abuse of one's office or authority is the legal definition of extortion. Knowing these facts, has a crime been committed?
Thank you, Mr. Gervin, and you are correct. I was not at the last council meeting. And Councillor Roux had taken over for me. My father passed away that day. But for a response to your question, so just to clarify, yes, the demerged cities, of which Westmount is one of them, of the 15 demerged cities, we are 12% of the Montreal population, but we are 18% of the agglomeration's total tax burden. So it's, I don't know if that was a typo or if that was a misrepresentation. I haven't seen the CTV article that he's referring to. So just to clarify, it's 18, not 38. And this is the current agreement that we have that is based on the discrepancy between population and tax burden is the result of what we call le potentiel fiscal, a calculation mechanism put into place by the Quebec government after the demergers. And it's for the shared services that we have with the agglomeration, which are, I think as everybody knows, are police, fire, water, public transit. Significant bills. But yes, we are in constant negotiations and wanting to, I think he had referred to the Beaconsfield case as well, wanting to reopen this and to look at how we can have a more equitable partnership with the City of Montreal. So thank you for your question, Mr. Gervin. Mr. D'Amico?
Mr. Goodman, if I just may add to your question, usually the agglomeration follows certain rules, and there are audited financial statements. So we do have to rely on the audited financial statements. But is there room for us to do work? It's possible. But it doesn't amount to, the second part of your question, it doesn't amount to that. So there are audited financial statements. We have to assume that the audited financial statement reflect clearly the situation and the calculations are done. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And the agglomeration council is where, and if anyone is following the Aglo Council, which you may not be, but is where many of these expenses or all of the expenses are passed. And the team with the ASM and the mayors go through each of those motions and each of those expenses and really ensure that they are responding to Aglo needs and not to local either centre-ville or borough needs. We were just going through the online questions, and then you have to ask your question. At the end, it has to go, you have to go up to the mic. Okay, next question.
Next question from Mr. James M. We don't have the full last name, so he has two questions. Given the recent events, demonstrations, protests, graffitis, etc., coming from downtown to Westmount, why not install video cameras at the main points of entry of the city with a clear signage that says to people, you are entering Westmount, you are being monitored. This would help deter incivilities. And second question, how many people work for Westmount Public Security? How many cars are there on the road? Should we add more?
So thank you for your question. Mr. McBain will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have 5 cars on the road at all times. And the total head count for public security is 41. And so that includes foot patrol and people who are in cars. And I know that recently the protests, which often end up in the city of Westmount, and they end up in front of the Israeli consulate, are incredibly disruptive, and that is within a residential neighborhood. So it may seem commercial to some, but they are completely surrounded by residential towers, whether that be at Westmount Square, One Wood, a little bit further down on St. Catherine Street, and they have had a significant impact on the local businesses as well, in particular restaurants. And when you look at a restaurant like Tavern on the Square, which is at ground level exactly where these protests are happening, that is a significant deterrent for people to go to that restaurant. So this is playing out locally. It has an impact. Obviously, this is managed by the police and the SPVM, who have been very present on the ground and trying to work very, very closely with the business owners and with the residents. And it's a very, very difficult file to manage because we live in a country that does have a right to protest, but it has to be peaceful, it has to be respectful. And at any given time at these protests, we have about 250 police officers on our street, which is our residents are also not used to that impact and what that does on the street. So I work closely with our federal MP, our provincial MNA, and as well the Mayor of Montreal and the SPVM to manage this. I wish we could have more of an impact on it. I wish it wasn't impacting our local residents and our local businesses in this way. But that is the case. So as for cameras saying you are being watched or you are being monitored, I think was the word. We don't have CCTV cameras there with that wording, but certainly we have a very heavy presence of police and public security in the area.
We have one last question
Okay.
from Samuel Dubé. Bonjour, en vue de l'été, pourriez-vous faire installer des tables à pique-nique et des bancs à fleurs dans l'ancien stationnement du Summit Lookout? Il faudrait embellir cet ancien stationnement pour les habitants de la ville.
Donc, est-ce que la question a été envoyée en ligne? J'ai pas une copie de ça. Donc, il veut, c'est en ligne
C'est
maintenant.
dans le chat, oui.
OK, il veut des tables de pique-nique?
Oui.
Et des bancs de fleurs.
Dans l'ancien stationnement du Summit Lookout.
Vous avez choisi une bonne nuit de poser cette question, monsieur. Merci pour la recommandation, mais la chose qu'on ne veut pas pour le Summit Lookout, ça coûtait beaucoup d'argent de réparer ça. Ça fait des années qu'on devrait faire ça. Mais on n'a besoin pas d'un stationnement là-bas. Je pense que si vous voulez y aller, il y a des escaliers qui montent toute la ville de Westmount là-bas, mais je pense qu'il n'y a aucune... je pense que les membres du conseil ne veulent pas un stationnement là-bas. Je pense que les citoyens là-bas, il n'y a personne qui m'a dit « Oh mon Dieu, je veux stationner sur Summit Lookout à 2 heures du matin. » Mais je pense qu'il y a une façon de faire des plus belles fleurs, des choses comme ça. Mais merci pour le commentaire. Mais on va se parler de ça. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions en ligne? OK, puis il faut arrêter après celui-là. On va commencer avec on a
This
un gros
is
agenda.
not a dog question. I would like to know if and when you are going to be fixing the road from the Belvedere Road from Côte de Neige to Summit Circle. At one point, it's been years.
That's a terrible road.
When
I'm
is
with
that?
you on that one.
It's the worst road I've ever seen in all of Quebec.
There might be worse roads in Westmount, actually, but...
No, I think that's a pretty bad one.
It
and,
is,
and to fix the potholes when there are, because there are plenty now.
Yeah, the pothole truck is out. You will see them. Unfortunately, fixing a pothole is not a long solution, as you know.
No, but
the Belvedere, we are doing an increased job on just paving this summer as opposed to complete rebuilds. Somewhat what you would have seen last summer. We did 2 sections up,
Yes,
just
and they were
offshoots.
very well done. And they were very...
So is Belvedere down to Côte de Neige, is that on our list? But the Belvedere section between, there is part of Belvedere that I believe is on the paving, but it is certainly, we have a very, very long list.
But that should be a priority. That road has been like that for years.
Yes.
Okay, and has never been addressed. Okay, well, you've done Summit Circle in several
We have
several times, like you've done where I live
like
once.
tranches of some.
Yeah, and then the one that looks at the lookout, which is already in very bad condition after a few years. I don't know how and who did this road, but they didn't do it
No
such a
shortage
great-
of really, really bad road conditions in the city of Westmount. So this year, we are doing more road work than we have ever done before.
Yes, I know, I've seen it.
It's going to be disruptive and messy and dusty and a pain to live through, but it is necessary. I think Councillor Peart would like
But that's
to.
a big artery. That people,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that use
Yep.
that road to come up to Westmount, and it's been like that for many, many years. I don't even want to count.
Okay,
So
I think
maybe you
Councillor
should be
Peart
looking
wants
into
to
it.
answer. And we will begin the other part of the meeting.
Like the mayor says, there's a long list of roads that need attention. In the past 10 years, past 15, past 20 years, the prioritization of roads has been largely, almost overwhelmingly, been driven by the state of the infrastructure underground. And infrastructure underground can last 50, 60, 70 years, but that doesn't really match with the state of the road on the surface. And so there's always been a disconnect. And so over the years, we've been catching up on the underground, subterranean infrastructure, which means that there are many roads like Belvedere which have been left behind. Last year, we are trying something a little bit different. We're not just focusing on the subterranean works. We're also looking at the roads which need some surface works. You may have seen on Sherbrooke Avenue on the Côte de Neige side, what they did last summer was a very quick, kind of a quick come and scrape and do a quick asphalt resurfacing. That works, but it has a pretty short shelf life. We did something a little bit more invasive, so on Claremont, on Barat, on Summit Crescent, I believe. We did a kind of an aggressive road repair where we go in and we actually do not the whole road, not a full reconstruction, but we and do some spot repairs on the concrete base, which is underneath the asphalt, and then we do a full topping. And that gives us a pretty good lifespan, not a 30-year lifespan, but potentially a 10, 15-year time
Buys us some time till the water work needs to be done.
But at the same time, we always still have to be taking into account the status of the subterranean works and that also includes the hydro requirements. And so there are so many things to do, and there are a limited pot of money of which we can do, and so it's always an exercise in triage. What we're doing again this year, because it's been a few years since we've last done it, I believe 5 years, we are going to go through and do it's called an auscultation, basically a road condition report. You might think that, well, it's obvious, this road is worse than the next one, but once you start going around the city, it's really hard, it's easy to lose track of what a really objective analysis of a road quality is. And so there are really specific engineering standards by which you can assign a level of road quality. And what we've seen also in the past few years, especially with climate change, is even though the last time we did this was, I think, about 5 years ago, a lot can happen in 5 years. When we have these quick freeze-thaw cycles, it can have a really catastrophic, quick impact on our roads. And so what we're now committed to doing is doing these road surface testing on a more regular basis, maybe once every couple of years. And again, for the first time ever in the history of Westmount, we're doing the same thing for our sidewalks. So we're not just paying attention to the roads, we're paying attention to our sidewalks. We're going to get an updated this year report on the quality of our sidewalks and a full updated report on the quality of our roads. And based on that, it will inform our decision-making for how we're going to next prioritize our next year's PTI budget or capital works budget, because there's, like I said, there's a long list of roads, and it might be that based on really objective data, we can say this road merits it more than this one. What I'm trying to say is I can't give you an answer for that segment, but I'm trying to explain the strategy.
But it's certainly, that segment is very much on the list, and we, the engineering, and we try not to, it's not supposed to be political at all. We have the engineering reports that come back to us saying the state of this road is X. It's never a surprise to anyone because it's typically what we see as well. But the challenge is the amount of work that needs to be done and spreading it out throughout the city, right? So having this fall, we kind of landlocked you a little bit up there when we did two sections at once, but both met that they were not going to have water done within the next 10 years. So we were not wasting, throwing good money away. And we went a little bit lower, as Councillor Peart was saying, than the typical than a light scarification. So if you look at Dolac Road, which was, they scraped off the top and they put down asphalt, that's the city of Montreal. Dolac is actually, the road is Montreal. It's in terrible shape already. That was done in October. I mean, it's go look at Dolac and you'll see that it did not survive it. So it's that it is the number one priority of this council, and has always been, is increasing the pace of which we upgrade our infrastructure to deal with extreme weather, like water retention, sidewalks, roads, safety of pedestrians, and ensuring that our parks also receive some of that attention as well. But it is, I'm not surprised that you're bringing up that road. Yeah. Thank you. But you have to, this will be, because we are well over our time limit, but you have to ask it at the mic. But it is the last question.
One of the questions you were talking about, the merger, that the municipalities are separate. So again, why are we encouraging other municipalities to bring their dogs? If we eliminate those people, you'll probably solve the parking problem. There won't be that many people parking. You won't affect the Westmount residents. Dogs are supposed to be on leash. The public security spends so much time up by the mountain that you're not allowing them to take care of all the other citizens. And that costs us money, and it's costing us money that you're not getting back from the other municipalities because it didn't merge. And now they don't have to have dog runs. They don't have to spend money on it because they just send them to Westmount. So if you get rid of the non-Westmount residents at least, and service your Westmount citizens who pay your salaries and vote for you and do everything for you, the people in Hampstead really don't care about you. And the people in Outremont don't care about you. Okay? So there's no benefit in having these people come here for the dog run. You get rid of them, you solve the parking problem, and then slowly we'll get rid of the dog run. But
Thank you for your commentary. All right. We now need to move into the next part of the agenda, which is a very, very long agenda tonight. So if this is often where it's not considered rude to leave. So not that I don't want you to stay, but if you were to leave now, nobody's going to talk about it after. Thank you. Thank you for coming. OK, on va commencer avec l'adoption de l'ordre du jour. Conseillère Roux.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Alors, je propose que l'ordre du jour de la séance... Oh, my God. OK, just lost it. Sorry about that. OK, merci. Que l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du Conseil du 18 mars 2024 soit adopté avec l'ajout du point suivant sous Nouvelles affaires. 49.1, nomination, chef de division, sécurité des systèmes d'information, service des technologies et de l'information numérique.
Merci beaucoup. Un appuyeur, c'est M. Chamy. All in favor? Carried. Item 5, approbation des procès-verbaux. Encore, Mme Roux.
Yes, so I move that the minutes of the Demolition Committee meeting and of the regular council sitting held on January 5th, 2024, as well as the special council sitting held on February 26, 2024, be approved.
Thank you very much. A seconder will be Councillor Chamy. All in favor? Carried. Item number 6, correspondence. The following documents are tabled. Les documents suivants sont déposés. Liste des règlements adoptés aux assemblées ordinaires du Conseil d'agglomération des 25 janvier et 22 février 2024. Lettre du service du greffe de la Ville de Montréal ayant pour l'objet l'Assemblée du Conseil d'agglomération du 25 janvier 2024. Résolution CG 240046, règlement de contrôle intérimaire, protection des milieux humides, ainsi qu'une copie de règlement RCG 24008, règlement de contrôle intérimaire relatif à la protection des milieux humides et de la résolution CG 240046 adoptant le dit règlement. Courriel de la greffière et la directrice générale adjointe par intérim de la Ville de Rivière-Rouge ayant comme objet fermeture de l'urgence entre 20h et 8h à l'hôpital de Rivière-Rouge, demande d'appui d'une contribution financière ainsi d'une copie de la résolution 0370502 2024, hôpital de Rivière-Rouge, opposition à la fermeture de l'urgence entre 20h et 8h du matin, demande l'appui et contribution financière. 6.2, le procès-verbaux du comité plénier, conseillère Roux.
Merci. Alors, les procès-verbaux des rencontres du comité plénier du Conseil des 15 janvier et 5 février 2024 sont déposés et sont disponibles sur le site Web de la Ville.
Merci beaucoup. 6.3, 6.3, procès-verbal de la Commission des finances et de l'administration. Councillor Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm the minutes of the Finance and Administration Committee meetings held June 1st, June 2nd, September 20th, November 17th, November 23rd, November 30th, 2023, and February 1st, 2024 are now tabled.
Thank you very much. Is item number 6.4 is again, Councillor Chamy, rapport de main-d'œuvre.
The workforce report for the month of January 2024 is now tabled.
Merci. 6.5, Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. La liste des paiements pour le mois de janvier 2024 est déposée.
Merci. Et ça, c'était le registre des paiements. 6.6, 6.6, list of approvals in virtue of bylaw 1507. Councillor Shammy.
In accordance with bylaw 1507, on the delegation of powers to certain employees of the city of Westmount, the list of authorization of expenditures for the month of January 2024 is now tabled.
Thank you very much. 6.7, list of duties on transfer. Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The list of duties on transfers for the month of January 2024 are tabled.
Thank you. 6.8, tabling of minutes of correction, resolution 2023-12-356, le greffier.
Oui, j'aimerais déposer le procès-verbal de correction portant sur les résolutions 2023-12-356 conformément à l'article 92.1 de la loi sur les cités et villes.
Merci beaucoup. 6.9, le rapport d'activité de trésorier 2023. Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Conformément à l'article 513 de la loi sur les élections et les référendums dans les municipalités, le RLQC 2.2, le rapport d'activité du trésorier pour l'année 2023 est déposé.
Merci beaucoup. Item number 7, numéro 7, orientation du Conseil sur les sujets devant être présentés au Conseil d'agglomération de Montréal. Conseiller Roux.
Je propose que la mairesse et en son absence, la mairesse suppléante soit autorisée à prendre toute décision qu'elle jugera opportune à l'égard des sujets inscrits à l'ordre du jour de la séance du Conseil d'agglomération de Montréal devant se tenir le 21 mars 2024 et ce, dans le meilleur intérêt de la ville de Westmount et de ses résidents.
Merci beaucoup. Et après, c'est le conseiller Shammy. All in favor? Carried. Item number 8 is Councillor Shammy, correction of resolution 2024-02-32, negotiations collective agreement between the City of Westmount and the Syndicat d'Écoles Bleues Regroupées de Montréal, SCFP 301. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the following corrections be made to two last paragraphs of resolution number 2024-02-32. Firstly, to $28,806 is now replaced by $33,177.01, and that 2024-2157 is replaced by 2024-2174, and that the paragraph thus corrected reads as follows: that an additional expenditure be authorized in the amount of $33,177.01, including taxes, for the negotiation mandate for the renewal of the collective agreements between the City of Westmount and the Syndicat des Écoles Bleues Regroupées de Montréal, SCFP 301, with the firm Les Avocats, Lecor et Associés, SENCRL, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2174.
Thank you very much. Councillor D'Amico will second. Any further comments? No? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 9 is Councillor Peart, deficit in federal infrastructure funding in relation to demographic growth. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. For this one, I think I will read the whereases because they are pertinent.
Yeah.
Whereas Canada is currently experiencing record demographic growth with 1.25 million people newly arrived in the country in the last year alone. Whereas, according to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, the CMHC, we need to build at least 3.5 million additional housing units by 2030, and municipalities must improve or provide the infrastructure to absorb this growth. Whereas, according to the estimates by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the FCM, the average cost of required municipal infrastructure is $107,000 per dwelling. Whereas, according to Statistics Canada, the cost of restoring existing municipal infrastructure reaches approximately $170 billion. Whereas inflation is in the non-residential construction sector has reached 29% since the end of 2020, and municipalities are facing an increase in the cost of infrastructure projects that is not only meteoric, but is disproportionate to the increase in revenues. Whereas in recent years, unlike federal and provincial revenues, municipal tax revenues have not kept pace with inflation, economic growth, or demographic growth. Whereas municipalities are facing a shortfall in federal infrastructure funding at a time when the Invest in Canada infrastructure program has ended, the Canada Community Building Fund, otherwise known as the Taxe sur l'essence et de la contribution du Québec, TECQ, or the TECQ as we call it often, is being renegotiated, and the Permanent Transit Fund will not be launched until 2026, whereas the Canada Community Building Fund, or the TECQ, formerly the Gas Tax Fund, provides more than $2 billion annually in capital directly to municipalities through a reliable allocation mechanism, and municipalities, large and small, rely on this funding to meet their commitments to the public by building and maintaining essential public infrastructure, drinking water and wastewater infrastructure, roads, public transportation, and community, cultural, and recreational facilities, etc. I move that the federal government work with the municipalities and signatories to the agreement to ensure that the Canada Community Building Fund, or the TECQ, remain a direct, reliable, and sustainable source of revenue for local infrastructure priorities, that the federal government commit to including a new set of infrastructure programs in the 2024 budget, including a new drinking water and wastewater infrastructure program, and to increasing the disaster mitigation and adaptation fund. That the federal government bring together the provinces, territories, and municipalities to negotiate a municipal growth framework that modernizes municipal financing and promotes the country's long-term growth.
Thank you very much. Do you want, seconded by Councillor D'Amico, do you want to add, I can add some commentary about this as well if you want to. There is some very serious concern that this federal budget would remove this funding and tie it directly and just tie funding to municipalities, which we get through the province in Quebec, to housing and to building housing, which is important and which is a crisis issue in our country. And it is one of the most important things that as a country, as a province, as municipalities that we're facing. But we can do two things at once, and the federal government can do two things at once. And this funding is critical to our water upgrade and to upgrading our water infrastructure. We have spent over $9 million in the past 4 years on this project, on these projects. We need to continue that pace. We have so much work to be done. And so this is asking for a renewal of this program. And it is in no way stating that we don't believe that housing is absolutely critical. And the funding for housing, that is also critical, that comes from the federal government. But we need to continue this funding. It should be increased. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Only that, I mean, we spoke earlier this evening about the mismatch and the fact that the costs are far exceeding our revenues. This is something that comes into the discussion. Again, when I was talking about the prioritization, when we are selecting our projects, we prioritize the ones which are eligible for a TECQ grant. So those float to the top of the list because we can get hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of dollars from this program to subsidize our capital works program. So this is real money on the table. It influences our decision making, and we're quite hopeful that this funding source will continue.
Thank you. So seconded by Councillor D'Amico, who I think also has a comment.
The only comment I had is I made the comment before regarding the inflation rate that we are subject to. You have it right there. We're looking at 29%, whereas we're increasing by the regular inflation rate. So these are two completely different numbers. They're completely out of whack.
Yeah. So I believe everyone's in favor of this. All in favor? Carried. Item number 10 is Councillor Chamy, Creation and Appointments Committee on Access to Information and the Protection of Personal Information.
I move, Madam Mayor, that the Committee on Access to Information and the Protection of Personal Information be created, and that the mandate of said committee be to support the city in exercising its responsibilities and fulfilling its obligations, to define and approve guidelines for the protection of personal information, approve the rules of governance, give recommendations and suggest protection measures for any project involving the acquisition, development of, restructuring of information systems, including video surveillance and the introduction of new technology, plan and carry out training activities, promote the guidelines, directives, decisions formulated by the Commission d'accès à l'information, and evaluate the level of protection of personal information on an annual basis. And that the composition of said committee be as follows: a division chief of archives and records management responsible for document management, one representative of legal services and the city's clerk office, one representative of the public safety department, one representative of the information technologies department, one representative of Hydro Westmount, one representative of the human resources department, one representative of the sports and recreation department, and that the following persons be appointed as members representing their respective departments: Division Chief, Archives and Record Management, Director and Assistant Director of Legal Services and the City's Clerk's Office, Director and Assistant Director of the Public Safety Department, Director and Head of Division Information System Security of the Information Technologies Department, Assistant Director and Division Chief, Customer Service, Hydro Westmount, and the Director of Human Resources Advisor of the Human Resources Department, and finally, the Director of Administrative Officer of the Sports and Recreation Department.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this, Councillor D'Amico. This is an administrative committee that is set out by the province. I think you were pretty clear in your comments. Do you have anything else you want to add? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 11, numero 11, approval of grants for nonprofit organizations, Green Neighborhood Merchants Association and Westmount Victoria Village Merchants Association. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas pursuant to Section 91 of the Municipal Powers Act, a local municipality may grant financial assistance to promote the well-being of its population. And whereas having a prosperous economic sector is essential for the well-being of Westmount's population. And whereas the City of Westmount wishes to support two nonprofit organizations created in October of 2018, namely the Green Neighborhoods Merchants Association and the Westmount Victoria Village Merchants Association. And whereas the Director of Finance and Treasurer recommends an amount of $40,000 be granted to each of these associations for the 2024 fiscal year for a total amount of $80,000, I move that a grant of $40,000 be approved for each of the following merchants associations for the 2024 fiscal year: the Green Neighborhood Merchants Association and the Westmount Victoria Village Merchants Association for a total of $80,000, following the fulfillment of the following conditions. Having provided their financial statements for the past year, that is to say, the year end in 2023, and having provided a breakdown of the allocation of the grant funds. I further move that the financial assistance for the year 2024 be granted for a last time and not on a recurring basis, and that this expenditure be allocated in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2215.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gallery is going to second that, and just to clarify that this is a yearly. It's written in here that granted for the last time, but when it really should probably be clarified, this is a 1 year. This is a 1 year grant. So Councillor Gallery is seconding. Do you have any further comments?
Simply that this money goes to support all sorts of activities within our commercial sectors that help our local merchants and business people attract and retain the interest of members of our own community, as well as people from outside of Westmount, and generally go to encourage residents and visitors to Westmount to frequent our merchants. They are, as you imagine, in dire need of assistance at this time, considering that they are having the same challenges that we all are: rising costs, difficulty in finding staffing, competing with big box stores and with the internet. It's a tough time for our local merchants, and this kind of support goes a long way. So I urge my fellow councillors, please, to vote in favor of this motion.
Thank you.
A vibrant economic sector.
Thank you very much. So seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 12, numéro 12, affectation rééquilibrage des comptes de surplus. Conseiller D'Amico. Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas by allocating surpluses to specific projects or elements, these amounts cannot be used for purposes other than those approved by council. Whereas funds are available in the unappropriated surplus account. Whereas amounts are available in the COVID-19 appropriated surplus account. Whereas the rebalancing of surplus accounts must be authorized by council. Whereas the appropriation for the 2023 results must be made prior to the completion of the audit work for fiscal 2023, I move that an amount of $10 million from the unappropriated surplus be allocated to the pay-as-you-go projects account for the 2023 fiscal year, that an amount of $1 $0.827,056 from the COVID-19 appropriated surplus be allocated to the pay-as-you-go projects account for the 2023 fiscal year, that an amount of $6,016,600 be allocated to the results for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2023, that the aforementioned allocations be to finance capital projects.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Shammy. Any further comments on this? No? All in favor? Carried. Authorize, item number 13, authorization statement of offense, Code of Penal Procedure. This is Councillor Kez, and this is a very, very long motion, so.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a long one. Whereas Section 147 of the Code and Penal Procedure, CQLRC C-25-1, prescribes that a person must be authorized in writing by the prosecutor to issue a statement of offense. Whereas on January 1st, 2002, an act to reform the municipal territory organization of the Metropolitan Region of Montreal, Quebec, and the Outaouais SQ 2000 C-56 created a new city called the Ville de Montréal. Whereas pursuant to Section 6 of the Charter of Ville de Montréal 2000 C-56 Annex 1, the authorizations to issue statements of offense enacted by bylaw resolution or other act by each of the municipalities mentioned in Section 5 of the Charter de Ville de Montréal remain in force in the territory until they are fulfilled or until they are replaced or repealed. Whereas pursuant to an act respecting the exercise of certain municipal powers in certain urban agglomerations, SQ 2004 C-29, the City of Westmount is reconstituted as of January 1st, 2006. Whereas a reconstituted municipality, the City of Westmount, is the prosecutor within the meaning of the Code of the Penal Procedure, CQLR C-25-1, for offenses under jurisdiction. Whereas it is necessary for the City of Westmount to issue certain authorizations to complete the existing authorizations in order to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations for its territory following its reconstitution. I move, 1, to authorize for the territory of the City of Westmount all peace officers and all police cadets employed by the Service de Police de la Ville de Montréal to issue for and in the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of any bylaw, resolution, or ordinance adopted by the City of Westmount before January 1st, 2002, and enforced on its territory by virtue of Section 6 of the Charter of Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56 Schedule 1, for any violation of a bylaw, resolution, or ordinance of the Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, the Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council for any violation of a bylaw adopted by the City of Westmount since its reconstitution, or any violation of the Highway Safety Code, RQ C-24.2, or any of the regulations adopted under the authority for any violation of law or regulations adopted under its authority when the City of Westmount is the prosecutor. 2, to authorize for the territory of the City of Westmount all prosecutors, team leaders, prosecutors, and the chief prosecutor of the Division of the Pursuits Pénales et Criminales de la Ville de Montréal to issue for and in the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of any of the bylaws, resolutions, or ordinances adopted by the City of Westmount before January 1st, 2002, and which are in force in its territory by virtue of Section 6 of the Charter of the Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56 Schedule 1, for any violation of the bylaw, resolution, or ordinance de la Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, the Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council, for any violation of a bylaw adopted by the City of Westmount since its reconstitution, or any violation of the Highway Safety Code, RQ C-24-2, or any of the regulations adopted under its authority, or for any violation of a law or regulations adopted under the authority when the City of Westmount is the prosecutor. 3, to authorize for the territory of the City of Westmount all directors, assistant directors, division heads, and section heads of each of the departments to issue and for in the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of one of the bylaws, resolutions, ordinances adopted by the City of Westmount prior to January 1st, 2002, and which are in force with its territory by virtue of Section 6 of the Charter de Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56, Schedule 1, for any violation of the bylaw, resolution, or ordinance de la Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council, for any violation of a bylaw adopted by the City of Westmount since its reconstitution, or for any violation of the law or regulation adopted under its authority when the City of Westmount is the prosecutor. 4, to authorize for the territory of the City of Westmount any firefighter, prevention inspector, prevention officer, liaison officer of the Service de Sécurité Incendie de Montréal, or any other person whose duties consist in whole or in part in ensuring the compliance with the laws or regulations relating to the buildings or fire prevention, to issue and for the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of the one of the bylaws, resolutions, or ordinance adopted by the City of Westmount prior to January 1st, 2002, and which are in force on its territory by virtue of the Section 6 of the Charter of Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56, Schedule 1, for any violation of the bylaw, resolution, or ordinance de Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, the Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council, for any violation of the bylaw adopted by the City of Westmount since its reconstitution, or for any violation of a building, law, or regulation adopted under the authority when the Westmount is the prosecutor. 5, to authorize for the territory of the City of Westmount any agent, public safety officer, inspector, officer, patrol officer, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, person in charge, chief, community safety officer, or any other person who performs duties consisting of ensuring public safety on its territory, regardless of the title used to describe the duties performed by this person, or issue for and in the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of one of the bylaws, resolutions, or ordinances adopted by the City of Westmount prior to January 1st, 2002, and which are in force in its territory by virtue of Section 6 of the Charter de Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56, Schedule 1, for any violation of the bylaw, resolution, or ordinance de la Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, the Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council, for any violation of the bylaw adopted by the City of the Westmount since the reconstitution, or any violation of the law or regulations adopted under the authority when the City of Westmount is the prosecutor. 6, to authorize the territory of the City of Westmount any agent, parking inspector, clerk, parking attendant, towing attendant, inspector, manager, or superintendent whose duties consist in whole or in part ensuring compliance with the parking legislation on its territory, regardless of the title used to describe the duties performed by this person, to issue for and in the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of one of the bylaws, resolutions, or ordinances adopted by the City of Westmount prior to January 1st, 2002, and which are in force on its territory by virtue of Section 6 Charter of Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56, Schedule 1, for any violation of the bylaw, resolution, or ordinance de la Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, the Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council, for any violation of the bylaw adopted by the City of Westmount since its reconstitution, or for any violation of a law or regulation adopted under its authority when the City of Westmount is the prosecutor. 7, to authorize for the territory of the City of Westmount any planner, coordinator, supervisor, foreman, assistant foreman, municipal engineer, civil engineer, project engineer, municipal architect, inspector, public domain inspector, agriculture inspector, horticulture inspector, agriculture inspector, park warden, superintendent, patrol officer, investigator, agent, urban planning agent, environmental health agent, attendant, supervisor, senior inspector, team leader, inspector, or liaison officer of the Public Works Department or Engineering Department of the City of Westmount to issue for and in the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of one of the bylaws, resolutions, or ordinances adopted by the City of the Westmount prior to January 1st, 2002, and which are in force on its territory by the virtue of Section 6 of the Charter of Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56, Schedule 1, for any violation of the bylaw, resolution, or ordinance of the Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, the Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council, for any violation of the bylaw adopted by the City of Westmount since its reconstitution, or for any violation of a law or regulation adopted under the authority when the City of Westmount is the prosecutor. 8, To authorize for this territory of the City of Westmount, any coordinator, project coordinator, supervisor, urban planning officer, inspector, senior inspector, chief inspector, urban planning inspector, superintendent, patrol officer, investigator officer, environmental health officer, attendance supervisor, team leader, or liaison officer of the urban planning department of the City of Westmount to issue for and in the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of one of the bylaws, resolutions, or ordinances adopted by the City of Westmount prior to January 1st, 2002, which are in force on its territory by virtue of Section 6 of the Charter of Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56, Schedule 1, for any violation of the bylaw, resolution, of ordinance de la Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, the Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council, for any violation of the bylaw adopted by the City of Westmount since its reconstitution, or for any violation of the law or regulation adopted under its authority when the Westmount is the prosecutor. 9, to authorize for the territory of City of Westmount any animal handler, animal control officer, dog or animal patrol officer, dog or animal patrol supervisor, patrol agent, public safety officer, or any other person performs animal control duties on its territory, regardless of the title used to describe the duties performed by this person, to issue for and in the name of the City of Westmount a statement of offense for any violation of one of the bylaws, resolutions, or ordinances adopted by the City of Westmount prior to January 1st, 2002, and which are in force on its territory by virtue of Section 6 of the Charter de Ville de Montréal, 2000 C-56, Schedule 1, for any violation of the bylaw, resolution, or ordinance of the Ville de Montréal adopted by the City Council, the Executive Committee, or the Westmount Borough Council, or any violation of the law, or one of the regulations adopted under its authority when the City of Westmount is the prosecutor.
We'll do it again?
Thank you very much. I think that was very detailed. I don't know if we need any further comments
The seconder.
on this. The seconder will be Councillor Aronson. And I would just note in item 9, the Westmount Borough Council is the Westmount City Council. But all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 14, Councillor D'Amico, appointment of Assistant Treasurer.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que Monsieur Frédéric Tifo, directeur adjoint du service des finances, soit nommé assistant trésorier.
Thank you very much. A seconder is Councillor Shammy. He is not here with us tonight, but he is currently a member of the team, so congratulations. Do you want to add anything? No?
Non, on souhaite la bienvenue à Monsieur Tifo. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. All in favor? Carried. Item number 15, appointment Assistant City Clerk, Legal Services and City Clerk's Office. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that Ms. Paul Geoffroy Belliveau be appointed to the position of Assistant City Clerk under the same terms and conditions listed in Resolution Number 2024-0242.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Aronson. Very welcome news for the City Clerk's Office. Do you have any further comments? Donc, bienvenue. All in favor? Carried. Item number 16, numero 16, renewal of general insurance coverage 2024 to 2025, Block A and Block B is again Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the amount of $176,538.37, including taxes, be paid to BFL Canada Risk and Insurance Services, Inc. for the property and casualty insurance premium and the brokerage fees, Block A, for the period from January 1st, 2024 through to January 1st, 2025, and the amount of $446,270.76, including taxes, be paid to BFL Canada Risk and Insurance Services, Inc. for the insurance premium for comprehensive general liability, umbrella liability, municipal liability insurance, and the brokerage fees, Block B, for the period from January 1, 2024 to January 1, 2025, and that the total expenditure of $622,809.13, including taxes, be authorized to cover these payments in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2219, and that the Director of Legal Services and the City Clerk be authorized to sign any and all documents required to give effect to this present resolution.
Thank you very much. Seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. This is standard that we renewal. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Gallery is item number 16, collective purchase. 17, collective purchasing group liability insurance for skate parks, BMX tracks, and similar facilities. Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the City of Westmount hereby join the purchasing group of the Union des Municipalités du Québec, hereinafter UMQ, for the purpose of awarding a contract for the liability insurance for skate parks, BMX tracks, and similar facilities located in the city for the period from June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2029. To authorize the mayor and the Director of Legal Services and City Clerk to sign for, and on behalf of the city, the agreement entitled Entente de regroupement des municipalités au sein de l'Union des municipalités du Québec relativement à l'achat en commun d'assurance responsabilité pour les parcs de roulis roulants, pistes de BMX et aménagements semblables 2024 jusqu'à 2029. Submitted and attached hereto to form an integral part hereof as if read in its entirety. In accordance with the law, the city accepts that a municipality that does not currently participate in the group may request during the course of the contract by resolution that it join this group on the condition that the UMQ authorizes it and that the municipality wishing to join the group undertakes to respect each and every one of the conditions set out in the specifications, the fees required by the UMQ, and the insurance contract and the consultant's mandate awarded accordingly, and that the merger must not be carried out if it distorts the main elements of the call for tenders, the contract, or the mandate in question.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Aronson. Again, standard insurance. All in favor? Carried. Item number 18, numéro 18, entente service Internet d'affaires. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that Council authorize the implementation of a new internet service and approve the 3-year agreement with Bell Canada, and that the Director of Information Technologies Department be authorized to sign for, and in the name of the city, the annexe to service Internet d'affaires, and any other documents required to give full effect to the agreement.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. All pretty standard. All in favor? Carried. Item number 19 is Councillor Peart, request for proposals, mandates for engineering services, PUB 2022-009, PUB 2023-007, PUB 2023-046.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $52,434.69, including tax credits for 3 mandates for engineering services for the following projects: renovation of the boiler room at Victoria Hall, Phase 2, PUB-2022-009, Westmount Library, creation of a cultural space, PUB-2023-007, and modification of the S08 system of the kitchen at Victoria Hall, PUB-2023-046. To award to Group Civitas, Inc., the contract for this purpose in accordance with a proposal for a maximum amount of $57,422.83, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the request for the proposals. To allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2201.
Thank you very much. A seconder will be Councillor Shammy. Any further comments on this contract?
Small regrouping of engineering contracts for 3 small projects, and so rather than going out to 3 smaller tenders, we contracted out a single engineering firm to do it all in one shot.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Item number 20 is again Councillor Shammy, request for proposal purchase of 23 disconnect switches, 400 amp 7 AKV MCGR FW4A1.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to let you know, there's still 30 items to go. I move, Madam Mayor, that
Again, we won't take offense if...
I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $79,051 even, including tax credits, for the purchase of 23 disconnected switches, 400 amp, 7.8 kilo kV MCGR FW4A1s, and to award to Distribution Limotrec Inc. the contract for this purpose in accordance with its proposal for a maximum amount of $90,888.89, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the request for proposals, and finally, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file 2024-2213.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. No comments. All in favor? Carried. Item number 21, numéro 21, demande de proposition rehaussement des équipements de travail. Councillor Shammy.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $82,043.95, including tax credits, for the upgrading of working equipment, and to award to ASN Inc. the contract for this purpose in accordance with this proposal for a maximum amount of $89,848.82, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the request for proposals, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file 2024-2169.
Thank you very much. Again, Councillor D'Amico is going to second that. Do you have any further comments?
No, straightforward.
All in favor? Thank you. Item number 22, again, is Councillor Shammy, which is request for proposals GIS data catalog solution. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $36,430.66, including tax credits, for the 2024 fiscal year for the GIS data catalog solution, and to award to ISOGEO the contract for this purpose for the period of 3 years, in accordance with this proposal for a maximum amount of $90,600.30, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the request for proposals, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2176.
Thank you very much. Again, Councillor D'Amico is going to second that one. Do you have any further comments? All in favor? Item number, did you have comments on that? No. Item number 23 is Councillor Peart, call for tenders by invitation, drinking water sampling and analysis service, INV-2024-001.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $78,559.20, including tax credits for the drinking water sampling and analysis service, tender by invitation number INV-2024-001. To award to Eurofin Environment Testing Canada, Inc., the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $86,032.57, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders by invitation INV-2024-001. To allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included with the decision-making file number 2024-2170.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this is Councillor Shammy. This is very important. Do you want to add some commentary to this?
So for the past couple of years, we've been engaged in a gradual and incremental testing of various sites across the city for various locations across the city, and in particular to private residences. We are doing testing for lead. And so any residents can, I think if they are within a zone, they can make a request to have a lead testing at their site done at the cost of the city. And of course, as we go along, we will be gathering a database of the results of these testing, which will again inform our decision making for our prioritization of the infrastructure works.
And just to add on this, as they will see in the public consultations that they're coming for Claremont and Forden, it is very opportune time that if you have not already updated your lead intake, to do it at that moment. And we really encourage people to do it. We don't always have full uptake of that, but it is the perfect moment to do it when your street is ripped up.
Yep. And it's important to note that for the most part, if there is lead in the system, it's more often than not, it's on the residential, the private portion of the connection, which is right at the connection point at the property line between where the city connects and to where your private portion goes into your house. So as the mayor was saying, it's an opportune, when there's construction on your street or reconstruction on your street, it's the opportune time to do a
So this is
replacement.
obviously separate from that, but it's, we like to mention it every chance we get.
Every chance.
Okay, so the seconder on that was Councillor Shammy or D'Amico? It was Shammy. All in favor? Carried. Item number 24, also, all items are important. This is an important one as well. Call for tenders by invitation, emergency tree maintenance. Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $91,207.89, including tax credits, for emergency tree maintenance. Tender by invitation number INV-2024-003 to award to Arbo Design, Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $99,884.53, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders by invitation INV-2024-003, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2192.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Aronson. Do you want to clarify any more?
It's, I guess with climate change and different, with ice storms and wind storms, it's about being ready for emergencies, and this company has access to specialized equipment. It includes felling, pruning, and cleanup of any arboricultural work that's being done.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Item number 25 is again Councillor Gallery. Call for tenders by invitation, maintenance of clay tennis courts 2024 season INV 2024-005.
Thank you. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $58,420.29, including tax credits, for the maintenance of clay tennis courts 2024 season, tender by invitation number INV-2024-005, to award to Terrassement Jopat, Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $63,977.84, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders by invitation INV-2024-005, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2193.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this one will be Councillor Peart. Every year, I have to do this.
We have 8 clay courts spread throughout the city, so it's maintenance and getting ready for season change.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 26 is again Councillor Gallery. Call for tenders by invitation, maintenance of playing fields. Councillor Gallery.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $87,138.16, including tax credits, for the maintenance of playing fields. Option 2, tender by invitation number INV 2024-008, to award to Pelouse Santé, Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $95,427.64, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders by invitation INV-2024-008, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2194.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Peart. This is also a standard yearly maintenance contract for our playing fields. So all in favor? Carried. Item number 27. The what? Yes. Call for public tenders, purchase of 2 4x4 crew cab utility pickups with gas year 2023 or later. Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Je propose d'autoriser une dépense de 147 008,75, incluant le crédit de taxe pour l'acquisition de 2 camionnettes utilitaires Crew Cab 4x4 à moteur à essence année 2023 ou plus récent. Appel d'offres numéro PUB 2023-058. d'accorder à Georges Péven Incorporé le contrat à cette fin au prix de sa soumission, soit pour une somme maximale de 160 993,74, taxes incluses, le tout conformément aux documents contractuels de l'appel d'offres PUB 2023-058, d'imputer cette dépense conformément aux informations financières inscrites au sommaire décisionnel numéro 2024-2162.
Merci beaucoup. A seconder on this will be Councillor Roux. You're moving this for Councillor Bostock, who's not here, so I don't know if we have any further comments. No? Anyone all in favor? Carried. Against?
I'm going to register my objection of buying more CAS vehicles. I vote against.
Okay, thank you. Item number, as you have explained in the past, that's fine, and so carried with Councillor Aronson against. Item number 28, call for public tenders, cancellation of the call for public tenders, PUB 2024-001. Councillor Gallery.
I move that the only tender submitted as a result of the call for tenders bearing number PUB 2024-001 for the contract for the replacement of the water tower at the Recreation Center be rejected on the basis that the price received is too high.
And that a call for new, there's one more
Oh,
line.
sorry, that a new call for tenders be initiated to obtain new prices.
Thank you very much. A seconder
Excuse-moi, Madame la Maire. Okay, go ahead.
on this one? Are you seconding? Is you raising
Oh,
your
I made a
hand?
mistake on my, on the previous one.
Oh, okay.
It said Georges instead of garage. I just want to correct it.
Is that noted by
The clerk fixed.
those that needs to note it? The previous, he said Georges instead of garage. So let the record show that it is Garage P then Incorporated that is in item number 27.
Thank you.
Councillor Gallery, a seconder on this will be Councillor Shammy, and this is typical when we have one bid that is much higher and certainly much higher than is budgeted or expected. All in favor? Carried. Item number 29, call for public tenders, water main rehabilitation by structural lining, PUB 2024-002, and this is Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Je propose d'autoriser une dépense de 2 029 073 $ et 49 sous, incluant le crédit de taxe pour la réhabilitation des conduites d'eau potable par gainage structurel. Appel d'offres PUB-2024-002. D'accorder à Fort Action Inc. le contrat à cette fin au prix de sa soumission, soit pour une somme maximale de 2 222 100 $, taxes incluses, le tout conformément aux documents contractuels de l'appel d'offres PUB-2024-002. D'imputer cette dépense conformément aux informations financières inscrites au sommaire décisionnel numéro 2024-2214.
Merci beaucoup. En appuyant, c'est Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments? Again, water investment.
So water, and this is the relining. So instead of digging up a pipe and replacing it, instead the contractors go in and do punctual holes in the street and go in and reline the pipe from inside. And so we're doing this on 3 segments on Belmont Crescent, Brayside, and Mountain, and all of this will be done this year. We do usually 3 or 4 of these every year, and it's a quicker way of getting these aqueduct infrastructure works done, and it's less invasive and at a lower cost. But the end result is just as durable.
Thank you very much.
Just a comment. Some of that work is in preparation for the big project, which is on the boulevard. So I just want the people on the boulevard to know that the project is coming up, and this is preparatory work.
Perfect. Thank you. All in favor? And I believe it was seconded by Councillor D'Amico. Next item number 30, call for public tenders, planting and horticultural maintenance, is Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $243,118.50, including tax credits for the planting and horticultural maintenance tender number PUB 2024-004 to award to 9190-8673 Quebec Inc., Les Entreprises Rose Neige, the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $266,246.46, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders PUB-2024-004, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2195.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Aronson. Any further comments?
This is our spring planting, so
Yeah.
again, the seasons are changing and we're getting ready.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 31, numéro 31, modification d'un contrat la Banque d'heures pour services professionnels, soutien externe pour les services juridiques et bureau du greffier. Conseiller Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that a further additional expenditure be authorized in the amount of $14,946.75, including taxes for the bank of hours for professional services, external support for the legal services and city's clerk office with Bélanger Sauvé, resolution number 2021-09207. And finally, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2178.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this, Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Carried. Item number 32 is again Councillor Chamy. Numéro 32, modification d'un contrat service de surveillance et système de gestion d'information et des événements de sécurité. Councillor Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the contract awarded to 9366-6501 Quebec Inc., La Société VARS, for the monitoring services and security information and event management, resolution number 2023-12320, be modified and increased to a maximum amount of $84,710.02, including taxes, and that an additional expenditure be authorized in the amount of $12,072.38, including taxes for the said contract, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2023-2091 and 2024-2168.
Thank you very much. Councillor D'Amico is going to be the seconder on this. This is for the company VARS that we contracted during the cyber attack, and for security systems. So, all in favor? Carried. Item number 33, numéro 33, modification d'un contrat approbation d'une clôture de sécurité pour véhicules autour de 4030 Boulevard Dorchester. Is Councillor Kez.
Whereas a notice of a deterioration has been registered in the land register for the movable located at 4030 Dorchester Boulevard, resolution number 2019-02-29. Whereas council awarded a contract to Scaffolds Plus Laval Inc. and authorized additional expenditures for the rental of protective fencing on Weirdale Park, resolution number 2021-04-82, 2021-09-213, 2022-03-69, 2023-03-63, and 2023-1945. Whereas is necessary to maintain the protective fence in place, I move that the additional expenditure to be authorized in the amount of $1,705.96, including taxes for the rental of the protective fencing with Scaffold Plus Laval Inc., to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2021-1209, 2021-1316, 2022-1510, 2023-1830, 2023-1945, and 2024-2182.
Thank you very much. A seconder is Councillor Aronson. Do you have any further comments?
Yeah, this is just a fence that was installed around the deteriorated building at 4030 Dorchester. It was installed in 2020, I believe, and this is to extend the fencing till June 2024. Let's knock on wood that the work gets done.
Thank you very much. And seconded by Councillor Aronson. All in favor? Carried. Item number 34, renouvellement d'un contrat nettoyage des puisards dans la ville de Westmount. Et ça, c'est Councillor Aronson. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas following the call for public tenders, PUB 2022-017, the Municipal Council awarded a contract for the cleaning of catch basins in the city of Westmount to 9363-9888 Quebec Inc., otherwise known as Sanivac Montreal. That was in resolution number 2022-06-142. And whereas that contract includes the option to renew it twice at the discretion of the city. And whereas on March the 20th, 2023, this council authorized a renewal of said contract for the period of April the 1st to December 31st, 2023. That was resolution number 2023-0375. Sorry, 74. And whereas the Director of Public Works recommends further renewing the contract for the period of April the 1st to December 31st, 2024, I move to authorize the renewal of the contract awarded to 9363-9888 Quebec Inc., otherwise known as Sanivac Montreal, for the cleaning of catch basins in the city of Westmount, as part of a call for public tenders PUB 2022-017, which was resolution number 2022-06-142. And this will be for the period of April the 1st to December 31st, 2024, and for a maximum amount of $69,889.89, including taxes. Further, I move to authorize the expenditure in the amount of $63,818.78, including tax credits, for the purpose of this contract, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tender PUB 2022-017. And finally, I move to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making files number 2022-1583 and 2024-2167.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aronson. A seconder is Councillor Gallery. I think that was pretty straightforward for the catch basins. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 35, notice of motion bylaw 1615, amending bylaw 1612 to establish tariffs for the 2024 fiscal year. Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to give notice of the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council bylaw number 1615 entitled Bylaw Amending Bylaw 1612 to establish tariffs for the 2024 fiscal year. I table the draft of said bylaw. The object of this bylaw is to make corrections to the administrative procedures related to tariffs for applications for plan review. A copy of the draft bylaw is available for public consultation.
Thank you, Councillor D'Amico. No vote is needed on that. Item 36, notice of motion and adoption of the draft bylaw 1616, further amending the planning program of the City of Westmount, Urban Heat Islands. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I give notice of the intention to submit for the adoption of a subsequent meeting of council bylaw number 1616, entitled Bylaw Further Amending the Planning Program of the City of Westmount, Urban Heat Islands. The object of this bylaw is to identify any part of Westmount that is lightly vegetated and subject to urban heat island phenomena, and to define measures to mitigate its undesirable effects. So, to that end, I move that the draft of bylaw 1616, entitled Bylaw to Further Amending the Planning Program of the City of Westmount, Urban Heat Islands, be adopted for submission to the public consultation, or to public consultation, in accordance with the provisions of the Act respecting land use planning and development, and that a public consultation be held in this chamber, the City Council chamber at the City of Westmount, at City Hall, on April the 24th at 7 p.m., in accordance with the provisions of said Act.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. We had, you had discussed this earlier, so we hope that please note the time, April 24th, 7 p.m. here. Any further comments? No.
I think it speaks for itself, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item number 37, numéro 37. C'est avis de motion règlement 16-17 concernant la gestion des matières résiduelles. Councillor Aronson as well, again.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. So this is notice of the intention to submit for the adoption at a subsequent meeting of Council bylaw number 1617, entitled Bylaw Concerning Waste Management. And this, I'm now going to table the draft of this said bylaw. The object of the bylaw is to ensure compliance between the regulatory provisions in the new contract for the collection and transportation of household waste and food waste, which are going to come into effect on May the 1st, 2024. This bylaw repeals Waste Management Bylaw number 1425, and a copy of the draft bylaw is now available for public consultation.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. Any further comments on this?
Other than I hope that the public takes note and takes interest of this particular bylaw and does consult it for to have a look at what we intend to pass. Obviously, comments and suggestions on this bylaw are very welcome and can be sent to the City Clerk's office, to the Director General, or to me at by email. Our email addresses are available on the website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item, so that's a notice of motion, so it doesn't need a vote. Item number 38 is also an avis de motion. Notice of motion bylaw 1618 to establish rates and certain conditions for the supply of electricity for the year 2024-2025. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I give notice to the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council bylaw number 1618, entitled a bylaw to establish rates and certain conditions for the supply of electricity for the year 2024 to 2025. The object of this bylaw is to establish the electricity rates for Hydro Westmount customers as of April 1st, 2024. And the object of this bylaw is also to establish certain conditions respecting the supply of electricity for the year 2024 to 2025. This bylaw repeals bylaw 1597 to establish the rates and certain conditions for the supply of electricity for the year 2023-2024. A copy of the draft bylaw is available for public consultation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shammy. Item number 39, notice of motion bylaw 1619 to establish the conditions governing the supply of electricity. Again, Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I give notice of the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council bylaw 1619, entitled a bylaw to establish the conditions governing the supply of electricity. And the object of this bylaw is to establish the conditions governing the supply. This bylaw repeals bylaw 1603 to establish the conditions governing the supply of electricity. A copy of the draft bylaw is available for public consultation.
Thank you very much. Again, doesn't need a vote. Item number 40, numéro 40, notice of motion bylaw 1620, authorizing a loan of $7,137,426.38 for the reconstruction work on Upper Lansdowne Avenue and the replacement of the water main. Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Je donne avis de motion de l'intention de soumettre à une séance ultérieure du Conseil municipal le règlement numéro 1620, intitulé Règlement autorisant un emprunt de 7 137 426,38 pour des travaux de reconstruction de l'avenue Upper Lansdowne et de remplacement de la conduite d'aqueduc. Je dépose le projet du dit règlement. L'objet de ce règlement est de pourvoir au financement de travaux en immobilisation sur l'avenue Upper Lansdowne. Une copie de ce projet de règlement est disponible pour consultation.
Merci beaucoup. And again, doesn't need a vote. It's a notice of motion. Item number 41 is adoption bylaw 1607 to establish Westmount's local heritage council. Madame la greffier.
Oui, donc je signale que les copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public en temps opportun. Donc, l'objet de ce règlement est de permettre la constitution d'un conseil local du patrimoine afin d'exercer les fonctions confiées par l'article 154 de la loi sur le patrimoine culturel. En ce qui a trait aux modifications, donc, le projet de règlement a fait l'objet d'une modification, soit à l'annexe A, sous lien avec un projet, les mots consultatifs d'urbanisme ont été supprimés. Donc, une copie de cette modification est mise à la disposition du public.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du conseil présent à la fait qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement? Merci beaucoup. Councillor Peart.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. I move that bylaw number 1607, entitled Bylaw to Establish Westmount's Local Heritage Local Heritage Council, be adopted.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Aronson. Do you have any further comments? Councillor Roux will be a member of this committee.
I think there's some things to follow up, so, well.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. I declare that bylaw number 1607, entitled Bylaw to Establish Westmount's Local Heritage Council, having been duly adopted, is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Item number 42, Adoption Bylaw 1608, Bylaw 1575, to establish a Planning Advisory Committee. Madame la Greffière.
Oui, alors je signale que les copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public en temps opportun. Donc, l'objet du règlement est de modifier certaines dispositions relatives à la Constitution ainsi qu'au rôle du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil présent à la fait qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement? Encore, Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I move that bylaw number 1608, entitled Amending Bylaw 1575, to establish a Planning Advisory Committee, be adopted.
Thank you very much. A seconder will be Councillor Gallery. Any further comments?
This is some minor revisions to our existing bylaw for the PAC.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. I declare the bylaw 1608 by law amending bylaw 1575 to establish a planning advisory committee having been duly adopted is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Item number 43, 43, l'adoption règlement 1609 relatif à la démolition des meubles. Madame la Greffière.
Yes, so copies of the bylaw have been remitted to all members of council and are available for public reference in due course. So the object of this bylaw is to repeal the current demolition bylaw number 1317 entitled Bylaw Concerning Demolition and to replace it in order to comply with Bill 16 entitled An Act to Amend the Cultural Heritage Act and other legislative provisions, and thereby modify certain provisions to better fulfill Westmount's heritage protection mission.
Can I have the declaration by each member of council present that he or she has read the bylaw? Thank you very much. Councillor Peart.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. I move that bylaw number 1609, entitled Bylaw Concerning the Demolition of Buildings, be adopted.
Thank you very much. A seconder is Councillor Gallery. All in favor, or do you want to make any comments on this?
Well, this is a bit of a bigger deal for us. We have had a demolition bylaw that's had a few challenges in the past, and so we have tightened up our definitions of what is a demolition. We have homologated our bylaw so that it fits in with the provincial requirements. We've made it quite clear as to what constitutes a demolition or not. We even dramatically increased the fines for any infractions for any undeclared or unplanned or pre-planned but not permitted demolitions, and we are now, I believe, at the maximum which is allowable by the provincial government. So there are a lot of changes in there, and we believe that this will further protect our built heritage in Westmount, while making it clearer for our residents what the rules are.
Perfect, thank you. So seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. I declare that bylaw number 1609 entitled Bylaw Concerning the Demolition of Buildings having been duly adopted. It is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Item number 44, numéro 44, dépôt du procès-verbal du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que le Conseil prenne acte et accepte le dépôt des procès-verbaux du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme, le CCI, pour l'Assemblée régulière tenue les 30 janvier et le 1er février 2024, et pour l'Assemblée spéciale portant sur les demandes de dérogation mineure tenue le 30 janvier 2024.
Merci beaucoup. En appuyant, c'est Madame Gallery. Any further comments? No?
This is our typical submittal of the meeting minutes from the PAC sessions.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Item number 45, appointment Westmount's Local Heritage Council. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move.
I guess everybody else is on it. So
I don't
you
know
gotta
why
move it.
I'm the only one that I guess could read it into the record. I move, Madam Mayor, and I'm honored to do that Ms. Carol Sheffer be appointed President of the Westmount's Local Heritage Council, that Councillor Elizabeth Roux be appointed member of Westmount's Local Heritage Council for the duration of her term as councillor, that Councillor Mary Gallery be appointed substitute member of Westmount's Local Heritage Council for the duration of her term as councillor, that Mayor Christina M. Smith be appointed ex officio member of Westmount's Local Heritage Council for the duration of her term as mayor, that Ms. Louise Carpentier, Monsieur Clément Demers, and Monsieur David Hanna be appointed as members of Westmount's Local Heritage Council, and that all the above-mentioned appointments be for a term not exceeding 2 years and effective as of the date of coming into force of Bylaw 1607 to establish Westmount's Local Heritage Council.
Thank you very much for that. So you can't second. Councillor Aronson can second that. Any further comments on this? This is a very important committee.
I can just jump in. I think earlier I said I would just withhold my comments until now. We've always had our Local Heritage Committee. Now it is better aligned with the requirements at the provincial level. It's been admittedly a little dormant in the last year or so, and so it's now been reactivated and renewed. You'll see that there's some of the names here, there's a good deal of overlap with our PAC, but it is a distinct committee from the PAC with distinct objectives from the PAC. And Councillor Roux will be a welcome addition to the team, and we look forward to these new sessions in the oncoming year.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Aronson. Any further comments? Madame Roux?
I'm looking forward to this. I care about Westmount's heritage and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Wonderful. All in favor? Carried. We are getting closer. 46, item number 46, approval of site planning and architectural integration programs. Councillor Peart again.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. I move that the Municipal Council act on the recommendations of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as set out in the minutes of the regular meeting held on January 30th and February 1st of 2024, and approve, with respect to each of them, the plans and permit conditions attached to the items listed below, as assessed in accordance with Bylaw 1305 on Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Anything of note that you want to comment on or highlight?
Scanning the list quickly. Nothing jumps out.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 47, numéro 47, minor exemption application, 40 Belvedere Place. Councillor Peart.
I will read the whereases because they are always pertinent to each individual application. Whereas the City of Westmount's bylaw 1576 on minor exemptions was adopted on September 20th of 2021. Whereas a minor exemption must comply with the objectives of the planning program. Whereas the exemption shall be considered minor in quantitative terms, in terms of environmental impact and architectural terms. Whereas the application of the regulatory provisions targeted by the application shall cause serious harm to the person requesting the minor exemption. Whereas the exemption shall not hinder the owners or of neighboring properties in the enjoyment of their right of ownership, whereas the exemption shall not exacerbate safety or public health risk or affect the quality of the environment or general well-being. Whereas the minor exemption application is to allow the construction of a retaining wall in the front yard, the location of which is not in compliance with the current regulations. Whereas the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, is of the opinion that the construction of a retaining wall in the front yard is necessary to ensure positive drainage of water on the lot and thus protect the property's foundations due to the particular topological situation on this lot. I move that the preamble be an integral part of this resolution. The council approve the minor exemption application to allow the construction of a retaining wall located less than 1 meter from the sidewalk, despite the fact that subdivision 6.2.8 of zoning bylaw 1303 stipulates that no retaining wall shall be erected within 3.28 feet or 1 meter of the sidewalk or in the absence of a sidewalk from the street curb. That the following application be approved with the following condition. Vegetation shall be provided in front of the retaining wall in accordance with the revised planting strategy dated 15th January 2024, proposed by the applicant. These plantings must be resistant to winter conditions and salt. The height of maturity should remain modest such as the retaining wall, to avoid creating the effect of a green wall in front of the property. All as demonstrated in the plans and technical details prepared and submitted by Robitaille Curtis, Inc., Plan P2.00 and 4 detail sheets submitted for coordination on January 15th of 2024.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Roux. That was a fairly descriptive whereases. Do you have any further comments?
It's pretty self-descriptive, retaining wall.
Okay. Thank you. And this is obviously the minor derogation is a tool that we now have to solve these problems. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 48 is again Councillor Peart, approval of site planning and architectural integration program, 70 Belvedere Place.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. I move that the Municipal Council act on the recommendations of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as set out in the minutes of this special meeting of January 30th of 2024, pertaining to minor exemption applications, and approve with respect to each of them the plans and permit conditions attached to item CCUDM 24-01-30.02 of the agenda of said meeting.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. Any further comments on that?
Well, the reason this one is segregated from the previous approvals is that it is dependent on the motion that we just
Minor
carried
derogation.
previously, so that's why it's separate.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 49, we do have new business that is being moved by 49.1, nomination chef de division sécurité des systèmes d'information, service des technologies de l'information numérique. Je pense que c'est Monsieur Chamy qui a celui-là.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that Monsieur Francis Saint-Yves be appointed to the position of Head of Division, Information Systems Security of the Information Technologies Department, Grade 6, on a permanent basis, effective March 19th, 2024, in accordance with the salary recommendation stipulated in the decision-making file number 2024-2022. Pardon me, Madam Mayor, number 2024-2220, and according to the terms provided for in the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Roux. This is part of our IT department. Do you have any further comments on this?
Congratulations.
Merci. All in favor? Aye. Carried. That brings the agenda to a close, and now we move to the second question period. If there are any questions, either in the room or online.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello. I'm Jessica Winton, for the record, and I have a quick question and one that's longer. For the Environmental and Sustainability Council, are there any updates on the members for that? Because I realize the application form is still up online.
So I don't believe you can answer.
Thank you for asking the question, Jesse. That we did address this before you came in, but we're working on it. We got an enormous number of applicants, 51, and we're working our way through to give everybody a little bit of, give us a chance to really review everybody's applications. We're coming up with a short list, and we're going to have an update for you at the next meeting in April. as to where we are with that. As for the form still being available online, the application deadline was the end of January, so that is probably just an oversight, something that we should probably address, but thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay. And then secondly, I wanted to comment, maybe it was brought up before I got here, but I'm sure somebody on City Council has read the Rat King piece of satire in the Westmount Independent. That was quite funny, but also it brought to my attention the lack of educational communication with the community, and I realized that one of the items on the agenda today was a communication council. I wanted to ask if the update to the waste collection schedule was part of the CMM's plan for the PMGMR, or the PMAD plan, or the Schéma de Management, just because I realize a lot of people are upset, but they also don't even realize how the CMM influences Westmount's decisions or the Montreal Agglomeration Council. And I thought there could be a lot more transparency in that, so I was wondering how.
So thank you for your comment, and I don't know if Councillor Aronson wants to say anything, but you are correct in that we could do a better job in we could have done a better job in communicating this, which we have talked about. And you're also correct that there is also a lot of support for this, and I know that it's not unanimous, but there is a lot of support for shifting how we manage our landfill pickup, our recycling, and our compost, and really trying to shift more focus onto compost and recycling. But this is a Westmount, so it is a Westmount decision that we make in terms of how we manage that. And then we work with partners in Montreal for the actual, taking it out of the city and the process of it. But I welcome you to write a letter to the editor, because I think it's important to hear from many different voices. Typically, the newspaper in the past has not printed anonymous letters to the editor, but I guess they chose to at this point. But I think it's important to get feedback from many different people and many different generations as well about the importance of this. Okay. So thank you for your commentary.
Thank you. And I also wanted to ask quickly if anybody had brought up the proposition of implementing user fees like Toronto for waste collection, where once a year they send out tags that people attach to their bags or bins. Yeah. So that way it cuts down on waste. And then if people want to purchase additional tags to maybe because they have more waste, because they have newborns, can buy more from the city.
Yeah, we had looked at Beaconsfield also has they have a fee, but they have bins, so it's measured by your bin. It's weighted with your bin. The mayor there says essentially a family should not go over their allotment, and they don't really. It's very rare that somebody is charged extra for their garbage, that they give them an allotment. But I think it's an important message to send, but it is not in this contract. But certainly you have to look at it in different ways too, if it's a standardized bin or if it's tags, or but it's not in this contract, but certainly something we should be looking at.
Because I was just looking at the bylaw 1617 draft, and I noticed it didn't seem like there was any defined limit, just like the specifications of the containers.
Yeah, no, you raise an important point, certainly for the landfill pickup. Yeah.
And that's all.
Thank you.
Richard Dufour from Anwath. One comment and two questions, if I may. Previous person who asking the question brought to light something that I think should be addressed. And I spoke to somebody else that I know who applied to the Sustainability Committee. And from what I understand, no one has gotten any response or answer. It's been 6 weeks that I think the deadline has passed. Out of courtesy, if there were 50 people who applied,
They were supposed to get a courtesy email of acknowledgement. I'll check into that.
I think there's a courtesy acknowledgement saying we received your application at the time that you filed it, but since then, 6 weeks has passed and there's been no follow-up. 6 weeks is a long time for somebody who's applying for something without getting any news. So if there's going to be a delay, and I understand why there is, then it would be courteous to say, by the way, you know, we're working on it. We have 50. What you just said there would be
We had a significant number of applications, many of, it's hard to fit it into the number of spots that we have.
Yeah, anyway, a comment.
Okay. It's good feedback, though.
Two questions. I read recently that the provincial government was awarding an envelope of about $500 million to municipalities that they were to use for la transition climatique locale. And they were to, municipalities come up with very specific measures and tools and so on for, in terms of the climate issue. So if I did the math, that means that in terms of if it was done pro rata, I mean, Westmount would have over $1 million available. I sent an email to Mayor Smith. My question is, the deadline I think was March 15th. Has the city applied for this grant, number one? And if so, what are the specific projects that you're proposing that we undertake?
I know that our engineering team was looking at it, and that your email, but we'd also been shared information from our M&A, Jennifer Macron, but I don't know what the status is. I'd have to refer that one to the Director General, as that we were evaluating what would be eligible for this year. So I don't know, Madame la DG, do we have an update? Okay. We will get you an update on that.
So you let us know if you've applied and what the specific
what the
projects are?
And what we are eligible for.
Thank you. And the second question was another provincial proposal that came out recently, bylaw 31. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but this one is to address housing crisis, to try to encourage cities to increase density. And one of the particular articles, Article 94, and I'll read it, La loi autorise à certaines conditions l'aménagement d'un logement accessoire, et ce, malgré la réglementation d'urbanisme applicable. Ce régime d'autorisation de plein droit sera en vigueur pour une période de 5 ans à compter du 21 août 2024. There are conditions. This is allowing ADUs, so granny suites, in-law suites, whatever you want to call them. And my understanding was that if it was a single-family home, detached on one lot, that this bylaw would kind of force municipalities to allow a secondary residence to be allowed. So my question to City Council is, are you aware of this, and will you be supporting this, or will you be trying to navigate your way around it?
So this is certainly something that cities are adopting. Toronto has done the same. I think you had done some research on this. Toronto adopted this, and there's been very little uptake on it, but it is something, we do not have a decision from council on this at this point, but we do recognize the importance of our responsibility. We can't just say everybody else has to take care of housing, right? So whether that's on, we're a built city largely, but we do not have a decision from council yet on this.
But from what I understand is
certainly anything that's built should be lived in, that's for sure.
Okay, so I understand is you're in principle favorable to this type of measure?
I'm very open to the idea of finding reasonable solutions that don't have a negative impact, obviously, on the heritage and architecture of our city, but also recognizing the importance of dealing with housing and dealing with, in certain areas, densification as well. So yes, I'm certainly open to discussing it. Does anyone else want to comment on this? Councillor D'Amico and Peart?
The provincial government is also giving us new powers to tax unused housing. So we are looking at that also. Other cities, other municipalities have tried. There are some regulation problems, but we are looking at that. We have to get.
Do you want to?
There is a federal one. We would be doing the municipal one, which you would have access to the money to.
Thank you.
Conrad, or Councillor Peart, sorry.
Yeah. I believe you'd asked us if we are familiar with it. Yes, we are familiar with it. Not only that, we've had it wasn't this year, I think at the end of last year, the administration had done, the urban planning department had given us a presentation on some of the early versions of the parameters of the bylaw, and so they are aware of it. We've had a kind of a cursory glance at it, and it is on our radar for discussion, because as the mayor says, we recognize that we are receptive to the flexibility that the province is now according us, and I hope that we can actually put some of these measures into place.
Thank you. May I ask a third question?
Sure.
I'm just curious because there was one of the motions was to purchase 4x4 pickup trucks, and it specifically said gas. And I'm just curious to know why it specifically said gas, and why there seemed to be an objection to that, and why the city is insisting on gas necessarily. Why is that part of the equation?
There is a reason for it, and it's in, I've got to pull it up. Do you have the DMS? My DMS is not loading right now. But we can get back to you, because there is a policy in place that every vehicle that we do purchase, the preference is to buy an electric, and if there is a reason why, like let's say a sweeper is 4 times the price for an electric vehicle as opposed to, so we obviously take that into account. But every time we purchase a vehicle, especially the smaller ones, the first choice should be gas, but I'm not sure about availability.
First choice should be gas?
I mean, electric. But there might be some reason with availability, but I can't pull up my DMS right now, my background info, so I'd have to get back to you on that, but you can.
I'll just jump in. And as a general note, the council has given the administration a directive that electric is always the preferred engine, and the burden of proof is on the administration to demonstrate why they cannot deliver an electric solution. And so in this case, there is no comparable electric solution for a four-person cab vehicle, and so until there's something comparable in the market at a reasonable cost, then we're going to go with what's available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
John Press, 473 Lansdowne. This is short. Councilor D'Amico, thank you for your continuing support with Summit Woods. We saw tonight that a wide sector of the population is concerned. So just once again, thank you.
Summit Woods is a very complex question. I hear both sides, so I did hear the other side.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing both sides.
Yeah, okay,
it is
good.
a very divisive issue, but anyway.
Yeah, no, well, thanks.
I really care, so it's important to me.
Great.
Thank you.
Dennis Barrow, 36 Burton. I'm very happy to hear that there's going to be an engineering review of our streets and our sidewalks. And I think it was mentioned it was the first time for sidewalks. This is fantastic. And this really is fantastic. Now, there's a big debate, as we've heard over many months, of whose street is worse than the other street. Like my street is worse than your street, and your street is, and same with sidewalks. Some sidewalks are very bad, but they're not used, and other sidewalks are less bad, but they're heavily used. So my question is to calm all this discussion for the future, because I don't think people should spend a hell of a lot of time arguing about which street is worse or sidewalk, will this report be released to the public? I imagine there'll be some scale, some way of looking at it, some points. And if it's released to the public, that'd be fantastic. Then, and obviously, which one the city proceeds to go ahead with depends on funding, depends on traffic, depends on a whole pile of other reasons. But I think it'd be a phenomenal idea if the public gets to see a summary of this report. Well, is this something council would consider?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Councillor Peart?
So yes, it's a great idea. In fact, Ville Montréal has an open data portal that you can go and see the rating for each one of the segments across the city. It's certainly a laudable goal. The challenge might be sometimes, I mean, there are at least 2 different scales on by which a segment is rated. I think it's on a scale from 1 to 5, and 2 different types of testing. So it does give a kind of a granular and a really objective rating to a street. But that's not the only, it's not the only item by which we were doing our
Just the
decision.
underground.
It's just one factor that is amongst a long list of factors that the engineering department is compiling. So there are objective measures, and there are also subjective measures. You know, if you've got 2 parallel streets, you can't do them at the same time because it's not going to work. Anyways, it's just.
Unless you're downtown Montreal.
Unless you're downtown Montreal. So it just goes to say that yes, it's great to have this. It will be great to have this resource. I'm really happy and proud and pleased about the sidewalk plan that we're doing, because it hasn't been done before, and it needs to be done. I mean, we are a dense urban environment, and a great number of our residents and visitors are on foot, and it's often the first. Sorry?
So I guess what I also would just like to stress, I know that there's, in the public forum, there's often a lot of criticism of the decisions we make, but one thing I wish people were more aware of is the commitment and the dedication that this council and this administration has to moving forward on infrastructure projects, improving them, investing in our roads, in our sidewalks, in our water, and as well as our parks and our buildings. And that is not an easy, light task to do, to push forward it's a very, very ambitious PTI that you will see this summer, that's really gonna roll out. You'll really see the effects of it this summer. Mr. Fress, you had asked about Summit Woods. In there, we'll also see an investment in Summit Woods. There is a commitment to improving all of our green spaces, protecting them. So this is a complete and total focus of this council, and it's not always easy, and you don't cut a ribbon on a water network or a sewer rehabilitation, but it is incredibly important. So on that note, we are going to adjourn this very, very long meeting. Oh, mais on a une question en ligne. Okay.
I have one last question.
Je m'excuse.
So from Andrew Grove, to read the new waste management bylaw 1617 is very disappointing. 2 questions. While I was not part of the recycle center visit on October 23rd, 2023, I did enjoy the summary given by the local newspaper on November 7th as to the actual on-the-ground operation by Société Via. The main takeaway, as repeated by Mr. Dufour earlier tonight, is thin plastics or soft plastics are, as reported, not recycled and essentially contaminating the recycled material we all put out weekly. Those blue plastic bags are a problem. With this information, why does the new 2024 bylaw still permit or even encourage residents to use thin plastics to collect and deposit our weekly recycling for collection? The mayor suggested to Mr. Dufour that cost is a factor for standardizing collections containers, but if we are, as citizens, to already accept bi-weekly waste collections in the name of cost savings, why can we not plow those savings into eliminating contamination from the recycle pickup? My second disappointment is to read that none of the feedback from many residents, both in council meetings or via the local newspaper, was put into this new bylaw for the fresh bi-weekly waste pickup as of October 24th. I just came back from a Friday to Friday spring break trip where I could, under the new plan, easily miss the bi-weekly Friday pickup on my street, forcing me to store waste for 4 weeks. I asked council to please consider that unique one-off events like travel or Christmas, birthdays, Passover, etc., could increase the amount of waste created even for those of us that judicially recycle and compost. With temperatures way above freezing recently, does council really want the spring break crowd to hold waste on their properties for up to 4 weeks?
Thank you for your very complete, or very detailed question. The bi-weekly pickup in the winter months, as we had discussed, is pretty standard across many municipalities now throughout the province of Quebec and throughout the country. So it's, I don't think we would be at a month during spring break, but you also wouldn't be generating waste if you were away. And just when we talk about cost as well, so yeah, cost is obviously a factor in everything we do. We spend public dollars. So every motion that we pass that has a dollar attachment to it is important, and it is public dollars. But it is also a way to decrease what we're sending to landfill. We do not have enough people composting. We do not have enough participation or full participation in recycling. And this hopefully will shift that, obviously, with the every 2 weeks. And I hear your feedback on the bins and the plastic bags, and certainly that's something that we will look at as we go forward. I don't know if you want to add anything, anyone, or if that's probably not the answer that Mr. Groves was exactly looking for, but Councillor Aronson.
Well, first of all, Mr. Grove, I thank you very much for continuing the tradition that we've been doing since the 7th grade, sitting on City Council together, of making sure that we double-check everybody's work. It is really important that all citizens take the opportunity to read draft bylaws before they are enacted, to give us this kind of important feedback. This is why we go through the process of posting a draft before we adopt it. So thank you, Mr. Grove. And for all of the citizens who've come here tonight and who engage online and in person, to make sure that your voices are heard. We have to hear from you. You got to pay attention and speak up. So when you do, we take what you're saying extremely seriously. I'm sorry that this initial draft was disappointing, but we'll do everything in our power to make sure that when we do bring it to a final vote, the bylaw that we bring in is the best possible product that we can bring to this table. Not everybody is going to be happy with everything we do all the time, but this is a really good example of exactly why an active and engaged citizenship is so critical for all of us, your elected representatives, the administration, and everybody working extremely hard to make this the best city it can possibly be.
Thank you, Mr. Aronson. Yeah, Councillor Pearson.
If you permit.
Yes.
Because like Mr. Dufour, I was on the tour at Villa's, and like many of us who were on the tour, we were quite surprised to find out about the plastic bags. But I would like to provide a little bit of context, because at the time, when asked how big of a problem was it for them to process the plastic bags, he said, not a big deal, they manage. Also, he says that the plastic bags they're recyclable, but it is not profitable for them to recycle it at this point in time. So maybe in the future, I don't know, it could be it could be a recyclable material for them. That's how they make the decisions, whether a material is recyclable or not. There needs to be, il faut que ça soit rentable pour eux autres.
And I think he said that their Quebec operation deals with the plastic bags, but they don't
They
yet.
don't, exactly.
And with the plastic bags that we some of us put our recycling in, what I understood, it's sort of a équilibre, as it were, to have it wet and then they can't use it in an open bin. And when it comes in the bag, they have to take like an X-Acto, open it up, empty it, but everything's dry. So my take back was, it's not great. We'd be better with a lid, but with no lid as we are now, was it such a bad solution? It wasn't so clear to me.
Same, and to follow up on that point, yes, the bins would probably be the ideal solution, but they are, for the almost 10,000 households that we have, it's a significant expense. And
But you can buy your own bin.
But you can buy your own, you can certainly buy your own bin. And my worry also might be if plastic bags make it really easy to take it out of the curb. And if you make something harder to do, then people are less likely to do it. And it might be a small cost to the process, but if it gets more recyclable material to the curb, then it's probably a net benefit.
Yeah, and I think one of the real problems is the open bin, is the box, because it blows around, especially, and then it causes a whole other set of issues. So, okay. Thank you, Mr. Groves. Mr. D'Amico.
Just one minor comment regarding the bins. Some of the proposals were that the city purchase the bins and that we give out the bins to the citizen. So these environmental problems are complex. So one disadvantage to that is that, for example, the one that you do have, you'd have to get rid of it. So then we try to solve one problem while we're creating another one. So these environmental issues are not as straightforward, as not as easy as they seem. They are complex issues. So I just wanted to give an example of that.
Thank you. And on that note, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Good evening.